Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the chosen heir of the Juubi? Part 2. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, so without wasting any time, let's get into the video. On Hagakure. After Naomi left the village with her former vessel, it was chaos in the village. The mob of civilians were all dead, killed by the tailed beast ball. Fugaku had several chakra burns on his person and he growled angrily. Damn that demon. Looks like he'll be taking his frustration tonight out on his wife Mikoto and their daughter, those poor innocent girls. Kakashi swore. I will kill you, demon brat, and your bitch of a mother too, this I vow on my sensei's grave. His lone Sharingan eye, for some strange reason, started draining more of his chakra, soon morphing into a warped shuriken form, but Kakashi covered it with his headband and went home to rest and recover. He never saw the figure watching him on one of the buildings. This figure had a black cloak with red clouds on it. His face was obscured by an orange mask, he had black spiky hair. Through the eye hole in the left side, a single level 3 Sharingan was seen spinning, and then it morphed into the same warped shuriken-like shape. Kakashi, team, you fool, Ni-chan would never let you kill her son, nor will I allow it, and sensei can rot in hell for using Ni-chan like that. He said in a disgusted tone. The cloaked figure vanished in a swirl, leaving behind no trace of his presence. Hokage Tower. Hiruzen felt the familiar yaki and shivered. Oh no. The seal, has it been broken? No, I must get Naruto and check the seal. He summoned his Anbu with a snap of his fingers. The lead Anbu bowed. You called us, Hokage-sama. Go investigate what happened out there and bring Naruto back. Hiruzen ordered sternly. Yes sir. The Anbu scattered. Sarutobi inhaled from his pipe to calm down. But he was mad. He had seen the whole murder attempt from his crystal orb. Those fools. I told them to only break the boy, not try to kill him. Now, everything could be in jeopardy. He was suddenly reminded of Kushina's threat earlier and paled. She would be utterly furious. I can't let Kushina find out. I must get Naruto under my command. Hiruzen looked to the picture of Minato. Oh Minato, our plans could be in jeopardy due to these circumstances. The picture seemed to scowl as if Minato was telling Sarutobi not to give up hope. Naruto would brought under control. Sarutobi smiled. You're right Minato, we can't give up. He's our ultimate weapon and we will gain control of him. The picture seemed to suddenly lighten up again with Minato's award-winning grin. Disgusting. Forest. Naomi ran through the forest with Naruto on her back in a smaller version of her fox form. She looked back at him. You've impressed me Naruto, you stood up to me in my full-size demon form without any fear. Maybe you're the one I've been looking for. Soon she came across a hollowed-out tree. She waved her tails and the tree shimmered and changed into one of her many hidden dens in the area. She walked inside and the illusion reapplied itself. Naomi then took Naruto to her bed and placed him on it. Naomi returned to her human form but left her fox features out. Naomi sat down beside Naruto. She reached out and stroked his hair. Surprisingly, Naruto seemed to rest peacefully despite all he's been through. I think Naruto-kun is Yubi-sama's heir. He just might be my chosen mate who I've been searching for my whole life. Naomi blushed at the thoughts she was having towards Naruto, who was but a child and yet already way more mature than anyone his age. She was much older than he was, and yet his sheer iron will and maturity were really appealing to her. Naomi had always been searching for that special person for her. She and Gina were the best of friends, basically sisters, and some people who knew them have spread rumors that they were lovers, not true although they were very close to each other. Naomi knew she and Gina were considered goddesses among their kinds and had many male and yami forbid female admirers. However, the thought of one of those irritating morons actually being their destined mate was utterly ridiculous. They wanted a person who could be a challenge to them, even put them in their place from time to time. Naruto fits the bill, being the future king of demons. It didn't hurt if their chosen male happened to have more power than them. Something Naruto had in spades that he had inherited from Juubi-sama, but his power was even greater since he was human-born, and human-born demons actually have the potential to surpass naturally born demons. This was why Naruto's father, the Yondaime, wanted his youngest child to be a tool for the village. Naomi suddenly sensed several chakra signatures heading in their direction. So the old fool sends his forces after us. I let them come, more fun for me. She smirked evilly before snapping her fingers, taking down the illusion on her den, yet real slowly so they would foolishly believe their own release took it down fully. The Anbu looked around for any clue to where their weapon was. Suddenly they sensed a great and familiar yaki. They went to the deepest part of the forest where they saw what appeared to be a hollowed-out tree. One Anbu clasped his hands together. Kai. The area shimmered and revealed a strange holdout grove. It was a den. The Anbu smirked behind their masks, which were of a pig, snake, ram, and bear. That's where the demon is, Bear said venomously. Yeah, Hokage-sama said to bring the brat back, Pig groaned. But he never said in what condition, Snake said in a sadistic tone, cracking his knuckles. Ram chuckled. This will be fun. They all grinned evilly behind their masks and ran into the den. Not knowing they were running straight to their doomed fools, they were walking right into Naomi's trap. Naomi stood up with an evil gleam in her crimson eye. I do believe I have some unwelcome guests. She walked out of the room to greet them. The Anbu then stopped as they detected someone heading straight towards them. Then a beautiful red-haired woman walked into their path. Blonde highlights and streaks ran through her hair. Her outfit seemed to show off her curvaceous form. If not for her extra features, she'd be the most perfect woman they ever laid eyes on. The red fox ears tipped with blonde or the 9 tails trailing behind her like snakes, and the visible glowing red slit eye. They knew what she was and that they were done for. They walked straight into hell. Naomi smirked at the Anbu baring her sharp fangs. Well, it seems I have unwanted guests in my house. Don't you know that it's rude to enter a lady's home without permission? Naomi lifted one hand and a blue-green flame orb formed in her palm. I'll show you what I do to unwanted guests. She raised her hand and aiming the growing fireball right in their direction. It crackled as it grew more intense and larger. The heat started to melt the floor and the Anbu were sweating behind their masks. The Anbu shivered. They just walked straight into the lion's den, or should I say fox's den. Naomi incinerated them all with a quick blast of her kitsune bai. Nothing of them remained, not even ashes. After killing the Anbu, Naomi returned to her room to watch over the sleeping Naruto. But she sent out one of her messenger kitsune to inform Naruto's family of his whereabouts beforehand. Izugaka ruins. Kushina Uchiha Uzumaki was downright furious. She and her children were fighting off Konoha's Anbu and Danzo's Na Anbu, who had apparently been waiting for them here. It was an ambush set by the council. Just as she suspected, the former Jinchuriki swore that as soon as they dealt with this mess, they would head back to Konoha. Kushina was getting a bad feeling that something was happening to her Naruto. There were 10 normal Anbu and 10 Na Anbu, so 20 Anbu in all. The Anbu threw several kunai with exploding tags attached. The kunai struck the ground in front of the family and the tag set off in a huge explosion. The rat mask Anbu landed. Well, I guess that's end of the demon's little family. The monkey mask Anbu agreed with a cruel laugh. Yeah. It was too easy. They were so easy to beat. How that red-haired bitch managed to seduce Yondaime-sama is beyond me. The third Anbu with a horse mask licked his lips in a lecherous manner. I think she's hot. Hey, maybe if she survived I can have a go at both her and her daughter. Brad and Minky shook their heads. Pervert. The Nox mask Anbu blanched. Disgusting. Why would you want to even touch that demon's mother and sister? Besides, their ashes. Horse chuckled perversely. So what if they're related to the demon brat? Uzumaki is quite a looker. I'm not surprised that Yondaime-sama fell for her. Just then an extremely evil chakra was felt by them. A huge purple ribcage was surrounding the Uzumaki family with 2 bony arms into front of them in a blocking position. They were completely unharmed. The Anbu were stunned. What? No way. It couldn't be. Impossible. Those were direct hits. How could they survive? The Anbu watched in shock and terror, frozen by the sheer evil feeling of this chakra. It was just pure unrestrained malice. Kushina had her head down with her long hair covering her face. She slowly raised her head, revealing her EMS spinning, those powerful eyes haunting their vision, even through their masks. More bones then grew into the shape of a fox skeleton made of purple chakra. It had a similar shape to Naomi's full fox form. It had 6 fingers like all Susanoo, as well as an extra right clawed hand which branched from the wrist of the original hand and was in front of the family, having defended them from the explosion. The Anbu watched in terror as the entire creature now materialized and rose up to its full height around Kushina, protecting her and her children, her QB Susanoo. It was at first just a fox skeleton, but then flesh and fur grew in. The empty eyeholes now had glowing red eyes in them. The giant glowing purple chakra fox that greatly resembled Naomi in her full-sized fox form was towering above the Anbu. Its 9 tails swished behind it, its clawed hands digging small trenches into the ground. The demon Susanoo's glowing red eyes looked right into their souls. It bared its razor-sharp fangs in a dark sadistic grin worthy of the Shinigami. The Anbu were terrified as the purple QB clone's fangs were dripping acidic chakra saliva. Kushina gazed at her opponents with a look of absolute bloodlust. Her hands were flexing, testing out their new claws. Her canine teeth were more prominent and more favored sharp fangs in appearance. Her eyes gained black outlines around them almost like eyeshadow. Bits of snow white and golden blonde began to flicker in her hair, which was also lengthening. Her battle lust completely overtook her mind. So, this was all just a trap, just as I expected from you council-worshipping teams. You wanted us gone for the day, so you could try to murder my little Naru-kun, and now I will destroy you all. Kushina raised her arm, and the Susanoo's giant paw rose up with her arm. It rose over the Anbu, ready to crush them. Kushina's kai rose, paralyzing the Anbu in pure terror. They couldn't move even an inch. They were completely frozen in fear. Even the Naanbu were frozen, unable to even budge, as the giant purple-clawed hand was now an inch away from crushing them into bloody paste on the ground. But then Hinata looked at her and she stopped her actions. The Uzumaki heiress pleaded with a pout. "Ka-chan, can I kill them please? I want to do it for Itato-kun." She gave her mother the puppy dog eyes. Kushina giggled. "How can I deny my Musum's wishes?" She nodded with a gentle smile. "Of course you may, Musum-chan, when you're finished please bring their heads to me." Kushina turned to her second-born child. "Itachi-kun, help Hinata-chan kill them, would you dear?" She dispelled her Susanoo. Her eternal Sharingan retracted into her normal blue eyes and her hair returned to its normal bright red color. Itachi's Sharingan was on full blast. "Already way ahead of you, Kasan," he withdrew a kunai. "These people are lower than dirt and deserve to perish. Let's go, Ni-chan." Hinata smiled. Right, Itato, the two younger half Uchiha ran straight at the Anbu who were paralyzed by their mother's dark chakra and demonic eye. It was over in an instant barrage of kunai slashes. All the Anbu and Naanbu were now dead and decapitated. There were about 20 heads in all. "Itato, would you mind sealing these heads for me?" Hinata asked. Her 5 Kage Bushin held 4 heads each. "Sure." Itachi instantly sealed the heads away. He held out the scroll. "Here, Kasan." Kushina smiled and took the scroll full of heads. She turned back to the bodies and destroyed them with a quick Kaiten jutsu. Kushina turned to face her children. "Come on you two, let's get back to Konoha and give that old bastard a piece of our minds, then let's make sure Naruto-kun's alright." A worried look on her face was seen from thinking about what horrible torture they're probably putting her youngest child through right now. "Hi Kasan." Hinata and Itachi exclaimed at the same time. Soon they vanished via Uzi Shunshin heading straight back towards Konohagakure. Someone was watching them, a mysterious figure who was cloaked. The cloaked man smirked. "So Kurami, that's your daughter Kushina and her own children, eh? Perhaps a family reunion should be in the near future, Ni-chan." He wore a hood and the only thing visible of his face was a black mask and through the eyehole, a single Sharingan was spinning before morphing into a strange shuriken-like shape. He vanished in a clap of red lightning. Hidden Palace. A blue orb of light appeared at the palace and reformed into Gina and the dog named Ace, who was one of her father's massager dogs. Ace looked at Gina and bowed. "Taisho-sama waits you in his study, Gina-sama." Gina nodded. "Thank you Ace, it's been a long time since I've last spoken to father." She entered the palace and was greeted by the Impyaki servants, same species as Jaken. They bowed. "Gina-sama, welcome home." Gina dismissed them and walked through the halls of the palace. At the end of the great hall was a door. Gina opened the door and walked into a large study room. The tall man of 6'3" was sitting behind the desk overlooking paperwork, much to his irritation. He had the same silver hair Gina had except darker and tied in a ponytail and the same slitted amber golden eyes. He wore a similar outfit to his firstborn sons, but the armor on the shoulders was much more medieval looking and thicker. Blue stripes decorated his face under his eyes. Running down his back was what appeared to be a long thick furry cape that split at the middle and went the ground resembling twin tails. This man was the father of Gina, Sessamaru and Inuyasha and the lord of the western lands. He was the Inu no Taisho or Taisho for short. Taisho smiled at his eldest and first female child. "Gina-chan, it's been so long since we've last seen each other. Look at you, you inherited your mother's looks and have become as beautiful as she was. No, you have surpassed your mother's beauty." His eyes started wavering though moving down to stop at his daughter's large bust, which was partially revealed by her outfit. Gina smiled. "Thank you father. Now what is it you needed to speak with me about?" When he didn't answer right away, Gina noticed her father's eyes not meeting hers and saw his gaze was too low for her comfort. Her smile quickly became forced. "Father, eyes up." Taisho quickly looked up. "Oh sorry Gina-chan. Now I'm worried." Once again his eyes strained to keep contact with his daughter's face and not her chest. Gina became annoyed and smacked her father upside the head. "Father. What would mother think of you acting like this?" Taisho shook the forbidden thoughts out of his head. He then got down to business. "Well, I'm worried about you dear, you're my eldest child and my firstborn daughter. I noticed you seemed rather lonely lately with the disappearance of your friend and Yuriko-chan having gone missing. Gina-chan, have you found a mate yet?" The dog general asked and the reaction of his daughter was not expected. Gina was blushing deeply and fidgeting like a horny fangirl. Gina had a warm serene expression on her face, practically glowing red like a stoplight. "Yes father, I have found my chosen mate." Taisho gaped as she went on to explain. "You see father, I went looking for my best friend Naomi-chan and I came across a shinobi village she had attacked a few years prior. She was sealed within a young boy. The humans refer to them as Jinchuriki." Taisho raised an eyebrow. "Human sacrifice. Nowadays the humans sacrifice their kin. Why that young Rinnegan wielder created sealing jutsu, I'll never know. I'll never understand humans' ways of thinking." Yes, father, and from what I've heard Jinchuriki are meant to be weapons for their villages. However, this one was treated much worse than even the lowest criminals. He can be very cold, but I have seen his other more gentle side. Gina brought her hands up to her face holding it. He treats the village as a plague, but with me, he treats me like a person and not as a prize. Her mokomoko lifted up from her waist and unfurled. Gina hid her face behind it, blushing up a storm, but she peeked over it to finish her explanation. His family doesn't know much about me yet, it's like a secret relationship, we're hiding our relationship from the entire world. So romantic. She ducked her head back in and let out a fangirl squeal muffled by her mokomoko. Taisho was completely floored, he'd never seen his daughter like this before. I'd thought I'd have to take up Fenner's proposal to marry his son to her. But it seems now I don't have to. He smiled. I'd like to meet this person you like sometime in the future. Gina-chan, by the way, what's his name and age? Gina peeked out from her mokomoko. His name is Naruto Uchiha. Uzumaki father, she blushed a whole new shade of red. He's currently 6 years old. Taisho gaped. C6. Then he's only a child, how can you have fallen for A? Because father Naruto-kun cares about me, he's so mature for his age, he doesn't just want me for my looks, he told me himself, he wanted to see how strong I was in battle. Gina ducked her head back in with an eep and released another squeal. Taisho continued speaking with his daughter after she calmed down from her romantic state. Gina assured her father when he asked a certain question. Don't worry father, I will wait for Naruto-kun to age before we do anything. She turned away blushing. Intimate. Taisho smiled. Okay dear, I'll be expecting some grand pups to spoil by that time. Gina's blush grew deeper. Father. Taisho chuckled. Gina-chan, I'm over 3,000 years old and I want to enjoy my time with some grandchildren. Okay father. Gina said with a smile. Is this all you wanted to see me for? Yes dear. So I'll assume you'll be going back? Taisho asked. Gina nodded. Yes, I must return to him, father Naruto-kun needs me. She leaned over her father's desk and embraced him. I'll promise, once Naruto-kun is trained and a bit older I'll bring him here to meet you. Taisho's mind went blank as he tried not to enjoy the feeling of his daughter's huge breasts pressing against his head. Must not grope the breasts of my own daughter. He mentally chanted over and over. I look forward to meeting him, daughter. The very experienced demon lord managed to resist the innate groper's urge and easily pushed the forbidden thoughts away. Gina left his study and headed back to Konohagakure. Taisho closed his door and returned back to his paperwork, only to see the large pile has grown even larger now. He gained a tick mark in his forehead. What the hell? How does this keep happening? The dog general's eyebrow twitched as the paperwork seemed to have little faces on them with evil little grins, mocking the great demon lord. You know, I'm thinking that I was better off dead. Taisho muttered angrily. But he quickly shook that thought off and just decided to bear the paperwork. Taisho pulled out a certain orange book known as Icha Paradise and started reading it, giggling. Humans really do make good stories. He said, drooling, and as he looked at the sexy erotic pictures he imagined himself and his mate Masami, Gina and Sesameru's mother in the humans' places. Blood dripped from his nose. Asami-chan. I hope you come and visit soon. Somewhere in another great palace, a just as sexy older version of Gina aka Masami sneezes twice and wonders who's speaking of her and why she suddenly wants to kill her husband. Masami clenched her fists and unleashed some of her yauki. I'm betting that Taisho-kun was thinking of something perverted again. Her golden eyes flashed red. Taisho-kun. If you're thinking about anything perverted, she left the threat hanging and her servants all shivered, feeling their mistress's rage. In a misty forest, a cute young girl of about 12 to 13 years old with silver hair sneezed. Her golden eyes shined with a strong burning fire within her. Daddy must been thinking about something bad again. Her long silver-white almost snow-white hair reached down to her lower back. Taisho shivered. Why do I suddenly feel the urge to run and hide? He felt a large yauki hit him and shivered harder. Oh boy, I better make sure Sami-chan never discovers that I read these books. Konoha gates. The two chunin saw a strange blue orb heading towards them and they just dismissed it as a trick of the light. As the orb flew over the gates and into the village. The swirl suddenly opened and from it came Kushina and her children. The Uzumaki family did not look like they were in a good mood if the kai from Kushina the two chunin felt was any indication. The two guards shivered at the evil glint in Kushina's blue eyes, like she wanted to torture them until they died, which unfortunately for them she did want to do. Kushina walked up to them with her EMS active and whispered. Tsukiyomi. The poor chunin both screamed as they were mentally tortured by castration for over 3 days in the nightmare realm. They collapsed foaming at the mouth. Kushina giggled evilly. That was fun. And then the family of 3 raced through the open gates, heading straight for the Hokage Tower. Hokage Tower. Sarutobi heard screams and then who should appear via Shunshin but Kushina and her children. The Sandaime cowered at her sweet smile. He gulped. Kami, have mercy on my soul. Alas, Kami was ignoring all prayers from these arrogant fools. Sarutobi mind explaining why when we arrived at the ruins of my home village, a group of Anbu both yours and Na attacked us. Kushina asked so sweetly even the Shinigami would wince. Sarutobi was quivering in his Hokage chair. Kushina's blue eyes turned into the crimson and black of her eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. If you won't tell me, old man, then I'll search your mind. She read his memories with her Sharingan before Sarutobi could react. Kushina raised her right hand and her fingernails elongated into claws. She impaled him through the stomach deeply. So deep in fact that her hand was partially sticking out of his back with his blood dripping from her fingers. Sarutobi coughed and blood flew from his mouth. Also her dark chakra conjured an image in his mind of the QB no Yoko itself, looking down at him hungrily with drool dripping from its giant maw. Sarutobi cowered as the giant demon fox looked ready to swallow him whole. Kushina ripped her hand out of the Hokage's stomach, leaving behind a bleeding hole, and flicked the nasty old man blood off her fingers. She hissed venomously. You bastard, I warned you what would happen if anything bad were to befall my little Naru-kun. Her eternal eyes began spinning. Tsukiyomi. Sarutobi's world changed to black and gray with a crimson-red sky. Tsukiyomi realm. Sarutobi found himself tied to a cross by spike chains, and he realized right away what it was, the ultimate game jutsu of the Mangekyou Sharingan. Here's impaled as Kushina appeared before him, dressed in her old Anbu captain's uniform, with her clan sword strapped to her back. To his horror, Hiruzen saw his own family, his second son Asuma and his daughter-in-law, who was Konohamaru's mother and the widow of his deceased elder son. The two were on their knees before Kushina with the mother holding little Konohamaru. Hiruzen pleaded. No please Kushina, don't. But Kushina just ignored him and withdrew her deadly blade. It was long and had a slightly serrated edge at the tip. Its guard was blue with the clan symbol on it. You deserve this, old man. You mess with my family, I kill yours. Kushina said coldly, her voice echoing through the dimension. Kushina stabbed Asuma with her katana through the chest and bisected him, causing blood to spray and his two halves to go flying before landing at the foot of the cross with a sickening squelch sound. Sarutobi screamed. Asuma. He was horrified watching the slaughter of his second son. Then Kushina turned her attention on the mother and child. She decapitated both of them, causing more blood to spray. Nuuo. The Sandaime cried out and tears flowed from his eyes at the gruesome deaths of his family. But just then everything returned back to normal with his family once again alive and before him. Kushina spoke evilly. Only 79 more hours to go, Ajisen, a cruel evil smirk worthy of a true Uchiha on her face, her eternal eyes glowing ominously making her look truly demonic. Kushina was part Uchiha alright, and her sadistic nature proved she was definitely Kurami's daughter. The murders began again, and this time the civilians and clans were slaughtered as well. They were beheaded, bisected, you name it, all of the many brutal ways of killing someone was all witnessed in the ultimate game jutsu right now. To make the murders even more scary, Kushina multiplied herself into many copies, one executioner for each person. Sarutobi was now reduced to a blubbering mess. The Kami no shinobi was completely and utterly defeated by a much younger shinobi and a kunoichi no less. And Tsukiyomi. Sarutobi was muttering gibberish. He was done, his eyes looked basically devoid of life, his mouth was foaming, plus he was losing a lot blood from the gaping wound Kushina inflicted on him earlier. His body was beginning to shut down quickly. Kushina scoffed. Serves you right, Sarutobi, but I know for now you must stay alive, so I will heal you. She made him look into her spinning eternal eyes again. You will remember nothing of what transpired. We came back and completed our mission. She then healed the wound she caused. Sarutobi weakly nodded. Kushina gazed into his eyes. Kai. She deactivated her eternal Mangekyou, revealing her normal blue eyes. Sarutobi shook his head confused. Huh? Kushina-chan. What's going on? We finished our mission, old man. Kushina handed him the scroll full of heads. Ah, thank you, Kushina-chan, that will be all for now. Sarutobi said, not knowing that these heads were in fact those of Anbu sent out by the council and Danzo. Kushina smiled before she and her children ran out, heading straight for their home. A blue orb was heading for the house as well. But when they got there, the house was in ruins. Kushina paled, seeing the ruins. She ran straight inside the house with deep fear and concern on her face. She screamed out. Naru-kun. Kushina was followed by her daughter and son. The three of them looked around the house, but Naruto was nowhere in sight. They looked all around the rubble. Kushina destroyed the rubble more, looking for her beloved youngest son. Naru-kun. Where are you, sweetie? Kushina screamed again. She was close to a nervous breakdown. As Kushina threw many things all over, searching only to turn up empty, her mind began to conjure images of what might have happened. Kushina's chakra began to swirl around her body with her fear and worry growing. Her body glowed with dark red-violet chakra swirling around her. Hinata and Itachi had to cover their faces due to how powerful their mother's chakra was. Winds whipped up, rocks rose up around Kushina, and the ground cracked and cratered. It was already a Kage class level, and yet it was still growing. Her chakra swirled and became more visible to the point where an actual being formed, a much darker copy of the QB herself. The QB image unleashed a very loud, very real blood-curdling roar before being reabsorbed into Kushina's body. Soon her power sent Hinata and Itachi to their knees. The ground beneath Kushina's feet cracked further due to her power rising. Her killing intent rained down over the whole area. Most of the civilians in this vicinity fell dead due to the immense pressure crushing them. Luckily Kushina and her family lived in a pretty remote part of the village, in the part furthest from the Hokage tower near the village gates. Kushina was really starting to freak out, her mind imagining many horrible things that might have befallen her child. She dropped to her knees and screamed loudly. "Naruto is in danger, I must save him. I cannot and will not lose him." As her chakra swelled even higher, shockingly a blue orb suddenly materialized next to them. The blue orb transformed into a silver-haired woman in a knee-length kimono. Gina Taisho has returned. Gina walked up to Kushina, who was on her knees with her hands on her head, as her immense chakra swirled viciously around her like a deadly cyclone, cracking the ground and further destroying the house. Kushina's once blue eyes were now a dark crimson with black slits for pupils, and the eyeshadow-like marks appeared around them. Her teeth clenched as they practically doubled in length, causing blood to dribble from the corners of her mouth as her upper fangs had punctured them and her nails turned into long sharp claws. If Naruto was not found soon, Kushina looked like she would slaughter the entire village. Her long beautiful crimson hair gained more length, reaching down towards the ground. Gorgeous snow white mixed slightly with sunny golden blonde streaks suddenly appeared in her hair. A single thin long strand of her hair suddenly grew down in front of her face. Her ample figure seemed to grow even more perfect, to where she now surpassed Tsunade in beauty. Kushina was now easily comparable to Naomi and Gina. Her frame was now more lithe than athletic, like a true warrior's. Kushina was curled on the ground as her power erupted around her much longer hair trailing on the ground around her, yet not getting any dirt on it. She held her head as if in pain. Memories not wanted began swarming through her mind, memories long forgotten, painful memories of the true horrors of her past. Hinata and Itachi both kept themselves from fainting by emitting their own chakra, which was just powerful enough to help them stay awake, yet they felt complete terror. They knew it was wrong to be scared of your own mother, but their mother truly was a demon in human skin, the bloody demoness of Konoha, and this was why. Because of her violent, unpredictable nature, lust of carnage, and the cold evil feeling of her chakra. Naruto. Where is my little Naruto? Where is he? If he's been hurt, then I'll finish what Naomi-chan started. Kushina screamed out in a demonic tone worthy of Naomi in her true demonic fox form. Hello? Gina called and reached out, only to have to grab Kushina's right arm in mid-swipe. Right that minute Kushina's sharp claws were a few mere inches from striking her head. Gina gasped. If it weren't for her natural-born reflexes as an Inugami and her intense training, she would have died just now. Kushina was just that good due to her Yaki and skill as an SS-ranked shinobi. The Uzumaki woman's crimson eyes were full of pure malice. In her current state of mind, everyone was an enemy to her and were in the way of her finding her beloved Naruto. This must end before it begins. Gina thought about what had just happened. For a mere human, she's so strong. That power is no doubt similar to Naomi-chan's, but how? I thought Naruto-kun was Naomi-chan's host, unless she remembered something Naruto had told her about his mother. Excuse me, but are you Kushina Uzumaki Naruto-kun's mother? Gina noticed she had some trouble holding Kushina back when she mentioned Naruto. Kushina's strength appeared to multiply, and the Inugami could barely hold her clawed hand from striking her back. Kushina screamed, outraged. How the hell do you know my son? Talk. I don't recall ever seeing someone like you around him. Her aura flared up larger around her body, increasing her strength even more. She began to overpower Gina. Gina knew she'd better tread carefully, never underestimate the power of an enraged and worried mother, especially when that mother also happens to be the leader of the strongest clan in the world, the daughter of the most powerful Uchiha in existence, and a former Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko no less. Put all of that together, and you have an uber-powerful kunoichi who can defeat almost any opponent, Kage, demon, or otherwise. So the Inugami queen instead asked this. Do you know Naomi-chan, the Kyuubi no Yoko? Kushina's eyes widened and she was surprised enough that her chakra faded away and her body and hair returned to normal. She nodded. Yes, I know Naomi-chan, in fact I was her previous host. Gina stared in surprise. I had heard the rumors that Naomi-chan was sealed 2 previous times, and by this very village. She shook herself out of her thoughts. How did you get along with her? Kushina was lost in her memories of her time as Naomi's host. Well, we got along great right from the start. She began babbling on how she first met Naomi and how their friendship evolved from their very first meeting, even about the pranks Naomi came up with for Kushina to pull in her academy student days, especially the ingenious prank she pulled on Minato Baka. Now that was one memory of her dead ex-husband she will always treasure. Gina winced at the now cheerful tone of the once insane woman. No doubt she's as crazy and cheerful as Naomi-chan can be. Kushina changed the subject. But she was actually sad about something, and one day she told me about a certain best friend of hers, someone named Gina. She mentioned that she hasn't seen or heard from her for 2 centuries. Gina smiled sadly. Kushina-chan, I am Gina. Kushina was shocked. You're the best friend Naomi-chan always talked about. Yes, I too have been searching all this time for Naomi-chan after we were separated, Gina informed her. I see, so you're really that close? Kushina asked. Gina nodded with a smile. Yes. Is it that hard to believe? Well, a little. Naomi-chan never mentioned her past until I became a chunin. Kushina said, sheepishly rubbing the back of her head. Gina smiled. You remind me of Naruto-kun when he's not all cold. Kushina giggled. Naruto-kun gets it from me. At the mention of her son, Kushina suddenly turned worried and depressed again. Naruto-kun, where could you be? Kushina walked over to Gina and begged her. Gina-chan. Please find Naruto-kun. Tears falling down from her blue eyes. Please find him, please. I don't want to lose him. I just can't bear the thought of losing my baby. Gina nodded. You can count on me, Kushina. I will see if I can detect Naruto-kun's scent. She closed her eyes, raised her head, and began to sniff the air for Naruto's scent, not noticing the surprised look on Kushina's face towards her at the kun suffix added to her son's name. Naruto had never told them that he knew someone as beautiful as Gina. Kushina knew she was not a bad looker, if anything, she was one of the most beautiful kunoichi in Konohagakure, only rivaled by her daughter Hinata and Tsunade herself, but Gina seemed to have a goddess-like radiance about her that even Tsunade lacked. How did her son know this woman? Kushina knew she would have remembered seeing someone like this around the village. How is Gina-chan so familiar with my Naruto-kun? How does Naruto-kun know her, and why didn't he ever tell me that he met a girl? Kushina thought suspiciously and also worried. Could it be no impossible? No way. Her eyes widened at the realization. Does Gina-chan have a thing for him? Could Naruto-kun like her too? Kushina's right eye twitched at the thoughts that appeared. No. I won't allow this. He's too young. Her hand slowly became claws as her leftover Kyubi flowed through them, her eyes flickered crimson. This can't be happening now. It's too soon. My Naruto-kun can't be this popular with girls already. He's only 6. I won't let anyone take him away from me. Naruto-kun belongs to me. Kushina was twitching and her hands were clenched tightly. But before she could threaten the Inuyasha, the small group turned their attention as a poof of smoke appeared in front of them. A 3-tailed fox stood before them, one of Naomi's massagers. Due to Kushina being her former container, Naomi can't send her messengers straight to her. The 3-tailed kitsune walked up to them asking. Kushina Uchiha Uzumaki. Kushina nodded. Yes, I'm her. I am Kaio, a messenger of the great 9-tailed kitsune princess Lady Naomi-sama herself. I understand that you wish to know the whereabouts of your son Naruto-sama. The newly named Kaio asked. Kushina perked up at the mention of her child. Yes, please, where is he? Tell me. Is my Naruto-kun okay? She had tears in her eyes, begging the fox to know what fate befell her beloved son. Young Naruto-sama is safe and sound with Naomi-sama in her den. Naomi-sama wishes to watch over him for the rest of the day, and you may come to retrieve him tomorrow. Kaio saw Gina and smiled. Ah, Lady Gina-sama of the Inugami. Naomi-sama will be glad to see her best friend after 2 centuries. Gina nodded. I see, so Naomi-chan's been released from Naruto-kun. Kaio confirmed with a nod of his own. Yes, Gina-sama. It seems Naruto-sama freed her and awakened his own powers. Kushina-sen, you should be honored, for your youngest child is the future ruler of Makai and all of demonkind. Kushina was surprised. My little Naruto-kun is the future king of demons. She smiled proudly. I always knew he was destined for great things. She nodded happily. I can trust Naomi-chan to watch over Naruto-kun for the rest of today. Kushina turned to her older children. I let Naomi-chan watch over Naruto-kun for today, we'll pick him up tomorrow. Yes, Kushina knew of Naomi's nature considering she was her previous host. They had a very good bond between Biju and host. Kushina was really pissed when that masked man ripped Naomi out of her, then took control of Naomi using some special dojutsu and caused that hell to befall her family. Kaio bowed. Then I shall come tomorrow and take you to Naomi-sama's den to retrieve Naruto-sama. He soon vanished in a poof of smoke. Hinata and Itachi soon came to and wondered what happened. Kushina explained to her children what special future awaited their little brother, and soon they rebuilt the house Gina helped them to rebuild. Now then it was time to show the council what happens when you mess with an Uzumaki maiden, a lesson Iwagakure learned the hard way long ago when Itachi Kage sent some of his ninja after Kushina to rape her only for her to brutally murder all them in a berserk five-tailed state, thus earning her moniker the Bloody Demoness. Kushina, Hinata and Itachi all went to the Hokage Tower. Gina told them she would watch the house while they were gone. Hokage Tower. Sarutobi sensed a certain powerful chakra heading straight this way. Oh, Kushina is not happy. He turned to his Anbu. Quick, call the council for a meeting. Yes sir, Hokage-sama. The Anbu quickly gathered the council members. And soon a meeting was underway with everyone already arguing on what transpired with Naruto a few hours ago. Kushina and her group arrived at the door to the chambers only to see two kunoichi blocking the way. One had violet hair tied in a pineapple style and pale brown eyes which were pupilless like the Hyuga clan in a way. She wore a long brown trench coat and a fishnet mesh underneath. The other kunoichi had long wavy black hair and red eyes similar to the Sharingan, minus the spinning tomo and a single ring in them. She wore a Jonin flask jacket and red inner outfit. Hinata sneered at the red-eyed kunoichi who glared right back. These two were Anko Mitarashi and Kurenai Yuhi. They were 19 years old Chunin and Jonin kunoichi who were best friends. Kurenai was known as the Ice Queen of Konoha due to her tendency to reject every male that ever asked her out on a date. She was also the second best kunoichi at Genjutsu right behind Hinata, who was right under her mother in Genjutsu and ninjutsu skills. Kurenai despised Hinata and it was likewise for the Uzumaki heiress. Not only because Naruto the QB brat was Hinata's little brother, but because Hinata still had her family while Kurenai lost her father and mother in the attack, she was jealous and bitter towards Hinata because the Uzumaki heiress had her family to love her, not even caring about the village itself. That reason in and of itself made Kurenai declare Hinata her arch-rival, not like the older girl even acknowledged her. Anko was Orochimaru's former pupil until he abandoned her and erased a good portion of her memories. To the villagers and some other shinobi, just as Naruto was known as the QB brat, Anko was called the snake bitch or snake whore. She was just as hated as Naruto was, yet she tried fit in by trying to harm Naruto. Of course the young ice-cold boy never had even acknowledged them, either making them only try harder, but the last time they were caught, Kushina, who had just come back from a mission, physically and mentally tortured both younger kunoichi for hours until they cried for mercy and begged her to stop. In other words, Kushina brutally beat them and then used Tsukiyomi to basically shatter their minds and turn them into vegetables. Luckily Sarutobi stopped her before that happened. Hinata spat out venomously. Yuhi. Uzumaki. Kurenai spat right back with an equal amount of venom in her tone. Step aside so we may enter and see the honorable council, Hinata said calmly. The word honorable was said with sarcasm so sharp it could cut through a Matarasu. But inwardly Hinata was hoping this little council-serving bitch would refuse, give her a good reason to end her pathetic little life. Anko was silent now, sensing Kushina's cold gaze on her. It frightened her more so than any of Orochimaru's glares, and her mind was still in turmoil from the immense torture she had suffered at the elder kunoichi's hands. Kurenai scoffed smugly. You think we'll listen to you, Uzumaki? This girl is seriously overestimating herself. Kurenai might be strong enough to take on some untrained jonin, but Hinata is far more skilled, strong enough to fight entire Anbu squads by herself, and her mother is right there, a Kage-level kunoichi, who can give even Yondaime-sama and Sandaime-sama a run for their money. She flipped her long hair back arrogantly. The honorable council has ordered that no one interrupt the meeting, and we are to deal with anyone who tries. Kurenai withdrew a kunai. They're talking on what actions to take towards the demon brat, but if you want my opinion, he should be killed just so we can finally be rid of the QB. Suddenly Kurenai felt a huge kai aimed at her and looked to see Hinata glaring at her via 3 Tomo Sharingan. The kai caused her to gulp and lose some of her grip on her kunai, but Kurenai tried to be strong, keyword tried. Hinata brushed a hand through her long red hair. Well, no one was asking you for your opinion now, were they, Yuhi? Shouldn't you and Mitarashi there be off scaring men away? Kurenai and Anko forgot their fear of Kushina to glare at Hinata, hoping she'd burst into flames. Alas, Hinata did not. Instead, the Uzumaki princess lifted her arms high over her head, showing a good view of her large E-cup breasts, which jiggled with each gesture she made. Any men who came by instantly flew into blissful unconsciousness from jetting nosebleeds. Hinata purred. Oh, it's not your fault you two aren't as developed as Kachan, and you're just not from clans like us. Kurenai growled. Why, you bitch. It takes one to know one, Yuhi, Hinata said dismissively. Anko yelled. How dare you speak to Nai-chan like that, Uzumaki? Hinata turned to Anko with a dark stare. I don't remember speaking to you, snake bitch, now keep quiet. Her tone was so cold that even a Hyuga would shiver. That familiar cruel name and icy tone stung Anko. They stung her very bad. She couldn't keep up her bravado much longer. Anko's fists were clenched and tears were beginning to fall. Kushina stepped up, now face to face with them. I'm afraid you two aren't even near strong enough to stop me. She now towered over the much smaller and younger Kunoichi who cowered at her close proximity. I think it's time you two girls took a little nap, now sleep. Her Sharingan began spinning like a pinwheel, subconsciously putting them under her spell. Gurenai and Anko tried to resist, but alas their minds were much too weak to resist the legendary Taijutsu. Within seconds, they fell to the ground unconscious and now subconsciously Kushina's servants. Kushina grinned, her Sharingan retracted. Sleep well. She then turned to the door only to be met by two squads of Anbu, so it seems several people wished to die today. Each of the Anbu drew their swords, though they were shaking in terror at being in the presence of the bloody demoness. Their leader was a purple-haired woman with a cat mask, her codename was Nico, and her birth name was Yuga Yuzuki. The purple-haired Kunoichi pointed her sword at Kushina shaking. Sorry, Kushina-sama, but if you wish to I interrupt the council, then we have no choice but to arrest you. Yuga was shaking in her boots, she knew it was futile to try and engage Kushina at her current level. She knew that this woman could literally rip her and all of the Anbu squads in Konoha apart with just her bare hands. But for the good of the village, she would lay down her life to stop her. Kushina shook her head. Council worshipping teams, I'm not in a very good mood right now. She unleashed pure murderous intent upon the Anbu, they froze in terror, and her Sharingan reactivated, a giant purple silhouette of the QB appeared behind her with its drooling maw and a bloodthirsty feral grin. Kushina spoke in an evil tone. I'll teach you not to stick your nose where it doesn't belong, you little bitch. Poor Yugao felt as if she would faint from terror even through her mask. Kushina's power then broke Yugao's mask revealing terrified grey eyes. Kushina made eye contact with Yugao via her Sharingan. Yugao found herself shadowed by a giant monster. It was the QB. But something was different, it was purple instead of the usual orange-red color, and it felt even darker and more evil than before. The purple glowing QB had red glowing eyes as it looked down at the paralyzed Yugao. Kushina advanced towards Yugao and soon stood face to face with her. Yugao trembled as the older Kunoichi raised one hand and placed it on her now visible face, her mask long gone somehow. Kushina purred sultrily. What's wrong Yugao-chan? You look frightened. Kushina stroked Yugao's cheek before bringing her closer to her. Council chambers. The council was arguing about what happened earlier today. The civilians were screaming kill the demon and all that crap with Tsume, Hiashi, and Inoichi agreeing with them. Fugaku and few other arrogant lesser clan heads refused to come to the meeting, claiming it was beneath them. Shikaku the Nara clan head left Naruto alone, claiming he was too troublesome to deal with. Tao's like Inoichi despised a boy, yet he wouldn't dare try anything when Kushina was around. The last time he tried something, Kushina beat him up so bad that he couldn't eat for 3 whole months. Chaozu was out today with the flu, and Shikaku was as usual too lazy to even show up, so it was just the heads of the Hyuga, Inyazuka, Yamanaka, Aburami, and Kurama clans that were here. And the annoying civilians and the elders. Tsurutobi groaned. Why did I have to allow Fugaku to hurt Naruto? That was a big mistake, one that could cost us big time. Soon before the arguing could escalate even further, they heard screams of pain and mercy outside the door. Soon the doors were blown open as several Anbu went flying everywhere into the chambers. They smashed rather hard into the walls, leaving human-shaped indentions where they smashed. All of them were dead. Hiashi checked their chakra with his Byakugan, no chakra was flowing through their bodies. They all had gaping wounds on their chests dripping blood onto the floor. The civilians cowered seeing the best guards in the village beaten down and killed. Tsurutobi winced. No doubt about it, this is Kushina's handiwork, alright, only she can take on the entire Anbu force and emerge victorious. Sure enough, the red-haired woman strolled calmly into the room with her head down. No one noticed the bits of red-violet lightning crackling around her body, think SSJ2 lightning aura. She looked up to reveal icy blue eyes that could freeze hell over 1,000 times. Next time you send Anbu, make sure they're more skilled. Old man, I barely broke a sweat with these idiots. Kushina brushed some of her long hair back and over her shoulders. She then stretched, getting some satisfying pops from her shoulders and back. Hiashi yelled. Kushina. That demon is corrupting your mind, it must be. He was instantly silenced as Kushina gazed at him with a look of pure venom that made his heart almost stop. Her hair raised up and spiked slightly as she unleashed a small burst of red-violet lightning around her body. Hiashi quickly covered his eyes to avoid being blinded. Kushina's chakra was so bright yet dark that any Hyuga would be blinded within minutes. What has happened to her chakra? It's so much stronger now. That demon happens to be my son. Kushina's tone was like ice. I'm just doing what any good mother does, defending my son from all threats. Her Sharingan appeared spinning, and several people in the chambers felt strange, even Tsurutobi and the clan heads, as Kushina forced her will upon them subconsciously via Sharingan gain jutsu. They wouldn't even suspect a thing. You all are starting to look a little ill, maybe we should postpone this meeting for now. Kushina suggested. Tsurutobi wiped some sweat off. Well, you're right, Kushina-chan. Okay everyone, this meeting is over until further notice. Everyone agreed and all exited the chambers, except for the civilians and elders. Kushina smirked and turned walking out of the chambers with her children. She suddenly stopped in mid-step, but Itachi and Hinata went outside to wait for their mother to finish her job. You know, you civilians and elders are the largest thorns in my side, Kushina said with her arms crossed and eyes closed. I'll remove you now, before you cause us too much trouble in the future. The civilians all gasped. Her eyes suddenly snapped open, Kushina suddenly vanished in a burst of pure speed that most people could only dream of achieving. One civilian let out a gurgled scream as she thrust her arm through his chest, delivering a fatal knife hand strike, causing blood to rise up from his throat. Kushina sliced him in two with her bare hand in a sweeping slash motion, her fingers coated in his blood. The other civilians screamed and tried to run. But Kushina raised her arm outwards in their direction, pure violet chakra chains formed and wrapped around her arm before shooting at the fleeing civilians, sharp harpoons on the ends of the chains gleamed. The poor civilians never stood a chance as the chains easily reached and impaled them in all vital spots, causing instant death to them all. Then the chains pulled out and retracted back into her arm. Kushina brushed her long hair back. All too easy. Rose watched stunned by her former friend's actions, she couldn't even budge from the sheer kai Kushina was emitting. Hamura yelled. You bitch. For this you will be arrested, and your little hellspawn will pay the price for your actions. But then Kushina looked to the elders, with a pure look of wrath before vanishing again. Hamura and Kaharu suddenly fell to pieces as more chakra chains wrapped around them and squeezed hard, slicing them to bits. Danzo's eye looked around trying to locate her. Where'd that bitch go? How did she get so fast? Her speed's comparable to that strange green jonin that Sarutobi has allowed to live among us. You looking for me? I'm up here, you idiots. A voice called from above. The last two survivors looked up, and sure enough, Kushina was standing upside down on the ceiling as if it was the floor, using her chakra to stay on. Her sword clenched in her right hand. Danzo suddenly leapt up at Kushina. He had his cane raised, which now was revealed to conceal a hidden blade inside the end. The two blades met, creating sparks as they collided. Danzo growled. Bitch, you will die and your brat will become my greatest tool. He pushed harder but to no avail, Kushina was far stronger than him. Danzo knew it too, he would need backup from his greatest agents to take her down, slim though his chances are. Don't count on it, Danzo. You will never touch a hair on my Sachi's head. I should have killed you the first time I met you, but this time I'll correct my mistake. Kushina hissed back, her Sharingan beginning to spin, trying to ensnare Danzo in one of her Sharingan-based genjutsu. Danzo smirked and leapt away. Sorry bitch, I'm not that easy foo. Torn. Come assist your master. Two members of his Na quickly appeared by his side. One had dark auburn hair, and the other's upper face was covered with a mask and glasses. They both wore similar Anbu-like outfits. Those two were lost members of the Yamanaka and Aburami clans, thought to be dead. The Aburami was named Torin, and he had a secret jutsu that was rare even among his clan, and the Yamanaka was called Fu. Fu, Torin, deal with this bitch. Danzo ordered. Then we will find a way to obtain her precious demon brat. Hi Danzo-sama. The two replied and got into fighting stances. But before they could even start the battle, Kushina looked to them and vanished, grabbing both of them by the throat. She held them high in the air and then squeezed hard until their heads popped clean off of their necks. The bodies fell to the ground with a thud. Kushina had decapitated them through raw physical strength alone. She brought her hand which had killed Fu to her face and licked the blood off of it. She felt a strange motion in her other hand and saw a purple area growing in her other arm and spreading towards her shoulder. But Kushina was fully aware of all the Aburami techniques, including the rare nano-sized beetles which were currently trying to destroy her arm. Kushina formed a chakra blade in her left hand and severed her right arm with it. It plopped to the ground and turned all purple before wilting away. Kushina then flared up her fire chakra to burn away any stowaway beetles in her body. Danzo was stunned. And no, it can't be. She killed my best two agents with such ease. Kushina turned to face Danzo, smiling innocently, which looked rather creepy considering the blood coating her body. She then phased out of Danzo's sight. The crippled man gasped. Where did she? Instantly the Uzumaki matriarch appeared right behind him with her single arm outstretched and her fingernails elongated into claws, a dark smile on her features. Kushina gazed over her shoulder at him. See you in hell, Danzo. Danzo was confused. What the instantly 5 bloody slash marks appeared on Danzo's face and body before his head and body fell to pieces. Kushina licked her lips. That was fun. She was giddy. Danzo had been a thorn in her side since day one. The Uzumaki clan head had wanted to kill him from the very beginning. The civilians and other two elders were a bonus. Kushina looked to the stump and sent chakra into it. Instantly a new arm suddenly grew out. Kushina waved and flexed her new right hand a bit. She then looked to her former friend, giving her a dark smirk, and left the chambers, leaving a slightly frightened Rose behind. The Uzumaki family walked through the village, heading back home. Someone then appeared before them via Shunshin. He had messy curly black hair and crimson eyes with 3 tomo in each. He wore a chunin vest over his clan clothing. This man knelt down to Kushina in reverence. His name was Shisui Uchiha, otherwise known as Shunshin no Shisui, due to his mastery of the Shunshin no Jutsu, and his Sharingan was the best in the entire clan, only surpassed by Kushina's mastery of her own Sharingan. But unknown to Fugaku, he was a spy loyal only to Kushina and her family. Kushina had him wrapped around her little finger, she didn't even need to manipulate him via her Sharingan, her feminine charms worked just as good, and Shisui had it bad for Kushina. He would walk through hell for her. Kushina-sama, Shisui said respectively. I'm here to report my discovery of Fugaku-sen's plans. What is that arrogant team planning? Kushina asked. It would appear Fugaku-sen wishes to capture Naruto-sama and use his power as a weapon for the clan. Shisui reported. He plans to make Naruto-sama serve his bratty son Sasuke as his loyal tool. Kushina narrowed her eyes. I see, so the attempted murder on Naru-kun today was just a cover-up for his real scheme. Perhaps I should kill them sooner than expected. Thank you Shisui, you may go and continue your spying. Thank you my lady, I won't disappoint you. Shisui bowed before sunshining away. Itachi spoke. I've seen his son Kasan, unlike Itato, that boy is completely arrogant and believes the world revolves around him. Hinata scoffed. He's not much to look at either, he's too pale and skinny for my tastes. Kushina giggled. What do you expect from a child of that limp beep team Fugaku? They went back home and went about their business before going to bed to rest up for tomorrow. Next morning. Naruto, our young future demon king, awakens after a nice long sleep, fully recovered. Naruto opened slitted blue-violet eyes and saw a beautiful red-haired woman looking over him, looks like she managed to get some sleep in as well. Her kimono left little to the imagination and he thought the blonde in her hair complemented the red quite well. Naruto looked at her. Hello Kyuubi, or should I call you Naomi? Naomi smiled. I'm flattered you remember me Naruto-kun, after you freed me you awakened your own demon powers. My own powers, eh? The boy slowly rose up and noticed the 3 wolf tails trailing behind him and felt the wolf ears twitching on the top of his head. Naruto smirked slightly. Sounds interesting, I do remember as a baby a giant black wolf appeared to me after you were sealed within me. Naomi nodded. That wolf was Juubi-sama, Naruto-kun, he granted you his powers, and once you're strong enough you'll be crowned the new Juubi. The new Juubi, huh? Now I'm really looking forward to starting my shinobi training with Ka-chan, the boy said in a very sinister tone. Black lightning suddenly crackled around his small form. His energy was incredible, Naruto's power was already beyond the 1 to 8 tails powers, in fact he was already stronger than Naomi, with the right training soon only the kamis themselves would be capable of defeating Naruto. Naomi smirked. I'm glad you're excited about it Naruto-kun, she suddenly remembered something. Oh right Kaio. Naomi snapped her fingers. A red 3-tailed fox appeared in a poof of smoke. Kaio bowed his head. You called Naomi-sama. You did promise to bring Kushi-chan and her family here to get Naruto-kun today, right? Go fetch them. Naomi ordered. As you command, princess. Naruto-sama, I should not take more than an hour to get your family and bring them here. Kaio bowed to Naruto and vanished in a poof of smoke. While the messenger fox went to fetch Naruto's family, our young future demon ruler started a conversation with his former tenant. Naruto did notice Naomi blushing as they talked, she was acting the same way Gina did, something Naruto made a second mental note to study. What makes girls act so strange? Like all boys at this age, future demon king or not, Naruto was young and naive when it came to the opposite sex. Uzumaki compound. Kushina and her children were already up, dressed, and busy. They were having breakfast. Gina joined them in her human form. Soon Kaio arrived and smiled. Kushina-san, Gina-sama, I've come to take you to retrieve Naruto-sama. Instantly the Uzumaki family halted their breakfast and were all ready to go, but first Kushina activated the new and improved security seals designed by her clan that not even her so-called late husband Minato or his sensei Jiraiya could remove. Only in Uzumaki or someone close to them could remove these seals. The family quickly took off, nothing more than blurs to academy students. Urchun and Gina became a blue orb and flew after them. The Nanbu sent by Saratobi to investigate the strange events from yesterday arrived at the compound. The only reason Saratobi didn't send them sooner was because of the nightmare he had about Kushina killing his family, and he wanted to make sure they would be safe. But as the Anbu walked up to the compound gate, suddenly the seals glowed and the Anbu was brutally ripped apart by what appeared to be an S-rank Futon Jutsu. Also the rest of the Anbu forces had to clean the corpses of civilians and birds from the ground and burn them the entire night last night. Forest. I leapt through the trees, followed by the Uzumaki family. Gina right beside them. Naomi and Naruto were waiting right outside of her den for them. They quickly sensed 5 signatures coming fast. Soon, 5 blurs appeared right before the two. Naruto sensed his mother's chakra signature coming towards him rather fast, and he braced himself with a sigh. Here we go again, Kachan overreacts. He knew how his mother got whenever he wasn't within her sight. Always the worried she was about him, and also Naruto was the only one who could control his mother when her battle lust overtook her common sense. Naruto indeed loved his mother, but she could be such a drama queen sometimes. The red blur quickly tackled Naruto to the ground and kicking up a lot of dust with their landing. Quite obviously Kushina, once the dust cleared it, revealed the red-haired Jonin hugging her son, tightly keeping him pinned on the ground, making a scene that could easily be misinterpreted by anyone perverted like Jiraiya, Kakashi, or Sarutobi. Kushina cried out. "Oh my little Naru-kun. I'm so happy you're okay. I was so worried." She held onto him tighter, not knowing she was now smothering his head in between her large breasts. "I was so worried about you. I was so scared that those teams had taken you from me." Naruto managed to get his face free of her cleavage. "Hey Kachan, could you let me up please?" Again he felt the urge to show his mother a good time. He still didn't know what that meant yet. Kushina smiled down at him. "Sure Naru-kun." She slowly removed herself from on top of him while blushing after realizing the position they'd just been in. "Sorry Naru-kun, I got a little too overexcited." Naruto quickly tackled his mother onto the ground. Now he was the one on top. The young demon prince gazed down at her, causing her to blush. "It's fine, because now we're even Kachan." His 3 tails waving behind him. Kushina was blushing as her son easily held her down with his newly gained strength. "Naru-kun," her heart began beating faster. "I can't move." Naru-kun has become much stronger. Her face flushed a whole new shade of red as she felt a familiar heat rising between her thighs. "Oh my Kami Naru-kun, you have no idea what you're doing to me right now baby." Her face was now lit up like a red Christmas tree light. She suppressed an erotic moan. Naruto noticed his mother's blushing, also he smelled a strange sweet scent coming from her. Kachan's turning red again, but why and what's this strange scent? Seeing her son's adorable wolf ears, Kushina couldn't help but reach up and struck them. Kushina struck them with a smile and blush. "Your ears are so kawaii Naru-kun." Hinata pouted like a child. "Oh no fair Kachan. I want to feel Itato-kun's ears too." She quickly joined in the fun, and soon both mother and daughter were stroking their beloved Naruto's ears. Naruto's sweat dropped slightly, yet the feeling was wonderful. This is strange yet it feels good. Itachi was blushing at the scene in front of him, also resisting the urge to feel Naruto's ears. Aya was snickering. "This is gold. Wait till I tell everyone." As for Naomi, she was gazing at Gina in joy and disbelief. Naomi stuttered. "Gina-chan. It's really you isn't it?" Gina smiled warmly. "Yes, it's been a century or two hasn't it Naomi-chan?" Naomi ran to her with her arms open wide. "Gina-chan." The two embraced each other tightly, 2 best friends now reunited. Gina's mokomoko and Naomi's 9 tails also wrapped around each other. This was the scene. Akio Uchiha Uzumaki came in on wearing his new Akatsuki cloak given to him by his mother. He noticed the strange scene and raised an eyebrow. Akio chuckled. "Well you all look like you're having fun." When Akio saw his sister pinned by her son and feeling up his wolf ears. It was quite a very funny scene. Kushina Uzumaki, the bloody demoness of Konoha, acting like a lovesick fangirl. Akio couldn't help but snicker teasingly. "Wow One-chan, I didn't know you were into that kind of stuff." Kushina gasped, blushing like a tomato. "Oh Itato." Naruto climbed off of his mother, allowing her to stand back up flustered. Hinata pouted at her uncle's interruption and got up as well. Hinata had dark thoughts of torturing her uncle in one of her genjutsu for interrupting her bonding time with her little brother. She gave him a sickly sweet smile with an evil glint in her eyes that made Akio grow as pale as Orochimaru. "Oh hell she's pissed at me." Akio gulped and backed away slowly with his hands in a defensive posture. After calming her racing heart down, Kushina noticed her brother's outfit. "Itato, that cloak." "Yeah, Ka-san let me finally join. I'm a full-fledged member of the Akatsuki." Akio smiled, seemingly snapping out of his fear towards his niece. Although he kept a wary eye on her, he showed them his Akatsuki ring which had the kanji for void on it. Akio turned serious and stone-faced. "Orochimaru betrayed the Akatsuki a few days ago. That Hebe team tried to steal my body too, but I cut off his right hand and taught him a lesson. He might come after Naruto later because of his powers and our Kekkei Genkai, you know he lusts after the Sharingan and we are the strongest Sharingan wielders around." Kushina scowled. She never trusted Orochimaru out of everyone from Konoha. He was one of the people she despised the most. Orochimaru was right up there with Minato, Sarutobi, Jiraiya, and Tsunade. She clenched her fists. The last thing she wanted was for her Naruto to ever get mixed up with that slimy serpent pedophile. Kushina's eternal manjutsu activated and spun. Her fists were clenched so hard that blood flowed from her sharp nails digging into her palms. She whispered darkly. I'll die before I let that he be team within 50 feet of my Naru-kun. Not like she can die anytime soon due to her bloodline, she's practically immortal. Kushina's wounds on her palms soon healed. Naomi pulled out of her friend's embrace and smiled at her previous host. Hey Kushi-chan. You look well, so how's the Yaki I left within you doing? Kushina looked to Naomi with a warm smile in return. Yeah Naomi-chan, the bit of power you left inside of me is growing stronger, with each use. Thank you for watching over Naru-kun for me. Naomi nodded. It was a great pleasure to watch Naruto-kun, Kushi-chan. Soon a man wearing the same cloak as Akio arrived out of the ground. He looked like a humanoid plant demon with spiky hair and had one half of his face and body white, the other half was black, and his eyes were yellow. This was Zetsu Kurami's greatest spy in the Akatsuki. What appeared to be two halves of a giant flytrap were seen on his neck. He bowed to Kushina. Ah, it's good to see you again Kushina-sama, you look as lovely as ever. Idiot quiet, I apologize Kushina-sama, no time to chat. Akio leader-sama wishes to assign you with Kisame on your first mission, let's go back to the base. The man's voice sounded like each half of his face was talking to each other. Of course Zetsu, got to go. Nichan Kasan has my first assignment. Remember one Nichan watch Sarutobi closely as he won't give trying to control Naruto so easily. Akio replied. Both he and Zetsu both sunk into the ground. Kushina watched her brother and the plant man disappear into the ground. She then smiled to her son. Naru-kun, shall we return home? Naruto nodded. Yes Ka-chan, I'm ready. Can Naomi-chan come with us? Kushina looked to her former tenant and then back to her son with a smile. Of course she can, but she'll need to take on a smaller form whenever she is in fox form. Naomi smiled. Oh, that is no trouble for me Kushi-chan, I can easily assume a normal fox form, my travel-sized form, you might say. She placed a very powerful game jutsu over her den that only she can dispel, and then in a swirl of flames, she became an adorable fox kit with one tail. In her fox kit form, Naomi jumped into Naruto's arms and snuggled into them. The family and two demons went back to their home. Akatsuki base. A few people were gathered in the cave. There were 3 in all as they waited for their leader and 2 fellow members to arrive. The others were off on missions. One spiky blue-haired man looked more like a demon fish than human. His eyes were small, his skin was blue, he had gill-like marks on his cheeks and sharp teeth, he was about 6'4", and had a giant sword wrapped in bandages strapped to his back. His name was Kisame Hoshigaki, known as the Phantom of the Mist. He was an S-rank missing nin from Kiri. Kisame was a chakra monster. He had so much chakra that he was known by another moniker, the No-Tailed Beast. His weapon of choice was the Samehada blade. A semi-sentient weapon covered in shark scales that fed on chakra. The scales gave the blade its name. The second person was a girly-looking blonde who looked like a Yamanaka almost. His hair was tied in a ponytail and a fringe of it covered his right eye. He was Dadara, a former ninja of Iwagakure. He used clay for all his jutsu. The strange thing about him was his 3 extra mouths, 2 on his hands and 1 more on his body hidden by stitches. He possessed the Bakuten Kekkei Genkai. Kisame yawned, showing a deadly row of shark-like fangs. Man, I've been so bored lately. When am I going to get to cut some flesh? Samehada's dying of hunger. His sword shivered in agreement. Madara chuckled. Relax Kisame-san, after all you can't rush art. A third much more happy person screamed out very annoyingly. Let Tobi cheer you up with a song Kisame-senpai. This guy wore an orange mask with a spiral on it and 1 eye hole in the left side. He had black spiky hair. Tobi cried happily. Tobi loves to cheer his friends up. Because Tobi is a good boy. Madara growled, releasing Kai at his fellow Akatsuki member. Tobi, shut up. Tobi slid back in fear. Eek. Senpai's scary. Kisame grumbled. Shut up both of you or I'll gut you. Madara held his hands up in surrender. I didn't say anything. The mouths looked gross, opening and closing. Tobi was sliding further back. Eep. Kisame-senpai's even scarier. And stop saying that, retarded. You're getting on my nerves more than Tobi. Kisame snarled, baring his fangs, and he started to reach for Samehada. Tobi was cheering. Yay. Fight. Fight. Until a chakra influx stopped him and the other 2 stood to attention. Soon the 3 turned as the area in front of them distorted as someone appeared from a swirl a few feet away. It was their leader and the founder of the Akatsuki, Kurami Uchiha. She wore the same cloak, only she also wore red samurai-esque armor too that the others lacked. Kurami's long hair flowed behind her like a cape as she walked towards her soldiers. Tobi cheered. Yay. Kasama. He ran to hug her only to trip on his own 2 feet and face plant into the hard ground. Luckily his mask protected his face. Oh we. Tobi trip. Madara burst out laughing along with Kisame. Garami shut them up with a release of Sharingan-induced Kai and helped Toby up. She smiled at him. "Are you okay, Toby-kun?" "Toby's much better now that you're here, Kasama," Toby said cheerfully, not even fazed by the Kai from earlier. Thisam grumbled. "Mama's boy." Toby stuck out his tongue behind his mask. "Naya. Naya." Madara's visible eye twitched with a tick mark on his head. "Why you little un?" Soon Zetsu arrived with Akio and To. Zetsu bowed. "Leader Sama, I brought Akio-san, can we go to eat now, Leader Sama?" Garami nodded. "Good work, Zetsu, you may leave now, I'll summon you if I need anything." Zetsu bowed again. "Thank you, Leader Sama, thank you, Leader Sama." With that he was gone, going hunting until needed again. Akio bowed. "What is it, Kasen, I mean, Leader Sama?" Garami took out a folder. "Akio-kun, I need you to head to Omegakure and watch this young man, and if you can convince him to join us, his name is Nagato alias Pian, a former student of the Gama Senin Jiraiya." She handed him the folder with a picture of a red-haired young man in his mid-20s. "I think he may be in Uzumaki like Kushina-chan, my grandchildren and you." The young man's face was covered by his hair, but through his hair rippled purple eyes were visible. The legendary Rinnegan said to be the progenitor of their own Sharingan and the Hyuga's Byakugan. The Rinnegan was said to manifest in random chosen people and gave that person the ability to wield all 5 chakra natures, as well as 2 unknown ones. Other than that, the Rinnegan's abilities were largely unknown. Many people, including Kakashi, call it nothing more than a myth or mutation. Akio gasped. "And Uzumaki. But Kasen, I thought Ni-chan and her children were the last ones." "It would appear you're not the last ones of Uzumaki blood left after all, Sachi, he has the same red hair, and besides, he is family. Akio-kun, we need all the help we can get, take Kisame with you." Kurami ordered. "As you wish, Kasen," Akio said. Kisame grinned. "Finally a mission. I'm game." The two bowed to Kurami and vanished. Toby, who once was all hyper, was calmer now, his posture showed more power and control. Toby turned to face Kurami. "Are you certain he's in Uzumaki, Ka-chan?" His formerly high-pitched voice was now more smooth and calm. This guy was the same one spying on Kakashi earlier. Kurami nodded. "I know he is, by the way, Kun, how long do you plan on wearing that silly mask?" Toby chuckled and removed his mask, revealing gasp. "I handsome face of Obito Uchiha Uzumaki with an eye patch and one raven-colored eye. You bought me this mask when I first got promoted to Chunin, Ka-chan. I will treasure it always, it's not silly," he said with a warm smile that could make girls swoon. His face was not scarred from being crushed under boulders. When Naomi attacked Konoha, some of her Yauki entered the grave and located Obito's buried body and somehow resurrected him, healing all the wounds from the horrible mission. That cost him everything, he even got the eye that was destroyed in the mission fully restored. Kurami smiled. "You know, Kun, Kushina-chan and Akio-kun don't even know you're alive, now they miss you." "I know, Ka-chan, but I can't reveal myself to them, it would be too painful for them, especially for one Ni-chan. I think it's best if I just let them go on believing I'm dead. By the way, I know Ni-chan has 3 kids now, has Aniki found a woman yet?" Obito asked. Kurami giggled. "I'm afraid not, Kun. Akio-kun still has trouble around girls since that incident with his fangirls during his genin year." Obito sweat dropped. "Seriously, he's still not over that?" "Ka-chan, I really think Aniki needs a woman in his life." "So true, Kun, so true," Kurami agreed with her youngest child. "I'll see if I can help him get over it." Obito smiled. "You were always the best mother to us, Ka-chan, Sen would be proud." Kurami hugged her young son, happy to hear those kind words. "Thank you, Kun, thank you." 6 months later. It was chaos as a pink-haired woman was running for her life from a group of shinobi. Her long pink hair messed up and her clothes ripped, blood flowing from open wounds that barely beginning to heal. Rose Haruno had gotten back from an ambush by demons that had somehow snuck in. She was currently trying to shake off a small group of shinobi, about 6 of them. Now, as a fully grown vampire, Rose would normally be able to dispense with Jonin-level shinobi easily, but she was severely weakened from the demons attacking her. She managed to kill them, but at the cost of being severely wounded. Right now, Rose looked to see her beautiful little girl hiding. "Sakura-chan, my little angel, I'm sorry, but it looks like I won't get to see you blossom." Then her thoughts turned to her former friend, who after Tsume's foolish attempt on her son had turned her back on them. No, the village turned its back on Kushina first. Rose had never trusted Minato with Kushina. There was just something sinister behind that so-called warm smile of his that really sent red flags into her mind. Rose thought sadly. "Kushi-chan, I'm so sorry that I let Tsume do something so foolish as to actually attack your son. Why didn't I say something before she tried it?" Rose clenched her fists. She also remembered the incident in the chambers. Kushina had killed the elders and civilian council, her razor-sharp nails puncturing the skin and causing blood to flow. Her blood dripped onto the ground, weakening her even more, but she kept running from the shinobi, knowing this might be it for her. Rose gasped as her fangs began elongating. This was bad. Rose couldn't let them discover that she and by extension Sakura weren't human. If they found out, they would kill her little Sakura in a heartbeat. Rose could not allow that to happen, so she willed her fangs to retract to normal size. Sakura was hiding behind a building watching the shinobi with terror in her eyes. She wanted to assist her mother, she did, but she just wasn't strong enough yet to take on one jonin, much less 6 of them. Sakura was nowhere near even close to that level right now. One shinobi yelled. "Get back here, bitch, we'll teach you a lesson for trying to befriend that demon and his family." He rushed through hand seals after throwing a shuriken. Shuriken Kage Bushin no Jutsu. The shuriken multiplied and all of them pierced Rose's body, causing her to stagger in her attempt to escape. Another shinobi flashed through hand seals nearing a large water tank with the top opened. Water release. Water dragon bullet technique. The water in the tank rose up into the shape of a dragon and soon slammed into Rose, and because she was a vampire that caused some real major damage. She was sent sprawling very painfully as the water felt like an electric shock to her. She felt as if her entire being was being ripped apart. The shinobi all laughed cruelly at the poor woman's pain. Rose struggled to get up only to be pushed back down by one of the shinobi, who had his foot pressed against her back hard. He grinned wickedly. "Stay down, demon lover." He began putting more pressure on Rose's back, and all poor Sakura could do was watch and cry. The leader of the group said with a sneer. "See what happens when you try to befriend the demon and his family? You die. And that demon brat will be useful for our plans. Yeah, he's going to be our clan's weapon like he was years ago." A second shinobi declared with a look of absolute evil in his eyes. "We will use the chakra we saved from Hashirama-sama to take control of the demon and then use him to retake our place as the true rulers of Konoha. The fact that a filthy commoner like a Sarutobi clan member is Hokage is the greatest insult to our clan." A third shinobi, a Kunoichi with black hair, spat out in contempt. "I will have the pleasure of ridding our village of that pathetic monkey clan once and for all." She had a look of bliss as she imagined the village ruled once again by her clan, the Senju. These 6 were the last remnants of the Senju clan, with Tsunade out and wandering around the country. The 4th shinobi spoke up. "Now what's the plan to get the demon brat anyway? I mean, his family is so protective of him, we have to find a way to capture him." Their leader placed a hand on his chin. He began to think of a way to separate Naruto from his family. The final 2 shinobi were silent as they could sense their doom was approaching them and approaching fast. The reason that they couldn't tell the others is a gain jutsu had been placed on them whenever they tried. A pair of spinning Sharingan eyes appeared in their heads and kept them from speaking. The Kunoichi noticed their silence. "Hey, you two, you could help us with this PL." She was silenced as her head suddenly rolled off her neck and fell onto the ground with a sickening splat, her face forever frozen in horror. The now headless corpse fell down to its knees and collapsed onto the ground, blood gushing from the neck like a faucet on full blast, staining the ground red. As if someone had quickly performed the act before they could even notice. The leader of the group gasped at the gruesome death. "No. Aki." He looked around, feeling a huge dark chakra that gave him chills way down his spine and into the pit of his stomach. "No doubt about it, she's here, the demon brat's mother." They looked around for anyone and felt a foreboding sense of doom right behind them and turned. Sure enough, standing there right behind them was none other than Kushina, currently clad in a dark blue housewife dress since she was off duty, but she was never really off duty and protecting her youngest child. Her sword was seen in her right hand. The sword's edge was freshly dripping blood, a cold expression on her face worthy of a Hyuga. Her icy blue gaze seemed to peer straight into their very souls. That was the gaze of a true shinobi warrior. None of the foolish arrogance or boasting today's ninja would show were seen in her gaze, only power and the intent to kill. Unknown to the lead shinobi, Kushina had been following them all this time and had heard how they wanted to use her son as a way to strengthen their clan, and if there was one thing that really angered the Uzumaki queen, it was people who wanted to use her family, especially her Naruto, for their own selfish reasons. Konoha had worn down Kushina's trust in people and in humanity altogether to practically non-existent. Rose looked up and gasped, seeing her former friend. Kikuchi-chan, she couldn't believe her eyes. Why was Kushina here? But she had a feeling it had something to do with these shinobi. The lead shinobi growled. "Why, you fucking demon bitch. You'll pay for killing Aki-chan." He ignored the others' cries on not to engage this woman in battle. He leapt straight at Kushina with a kunai drawn. He screamed hatefully. "Die, you demon whore." The Senju Jonin swung his kunai as hard as he could, praying it would strike. He was finished the minute he dared to challenge this woman. He missed her completely. Kushina just silently stepped forward, passing right behind her opponent with a single swift movement. The man felt many lightning-quick slashes rip into his entire body. He choked as blood flew from his mouth and gaping wounds. "Monster, you're a monster just like that hell spawn of yours." Those were his final words as he split into many bloody chunks onto the ground. The other 4 shinobi were completely terrified. This was no woman in front of them. No, this being was a true demon. They started to run, hoping to be spared. Alas, they would not escape. No one ever escapes from Kushina. The Kage level Kunoichi unleashed some of her immense kai, paralyzing them right on the spot, an eerie red-violet aura emanating from her body. Because of what happened 6 months ago. No one is allowed in this part of the village. Kushina and her family rule this part of Konoha. As decreed, anyone other than the Hokage caught in this part of the village would be killed by Kushina or anyone else in her household like these shinobi will be. Kushina slowly moved towards them with a bloodthirsty gleam in her violet eyes, her katana calling for their blood. When she was close enough, she raised her sword to the sky, and it gleamed in the sunlight, ready to take their lives. The 4 shinobi begged for mercy, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. Kushina killed them swiftly and without any hesitation whatsoever, with masterful sword moves that would make anyone from Kurigakure jealous. All anyone who was watching saw were blurs of light. Tsunade was now all that remained of the once mighty Senju clan. The ground in this whole area was stained with Senju blood. Kushina flicked the blood off her blade and sheathed it with an audible click. She then turned to leave when a voice called her. Kushi-chan. Rose weakly called out to her. Kushina slowly turned to face her with dark blue eyes that practically could freeze your very soul. Rose couldn't believe what the village's hatred had done to her friend. Those icy slitted blue eyes that once were filled with laughter and joy, now filled with nothing but pure hatred and a lust towards destruction. Those dark hateful eyes scared her. An actual vampire, the village had truly turned her former best friend into a murderous monster. All because they couldn't get over what the QB's rampage had caused and had tried to kill her son. Unknown to humanity, the worst shinobi killers are not born, but made that way by hatred and prejudice. Something a village which often boasts about the will of fire has in spades. Sakura came out of hiding running to her mother's side. "Ka-san, you're going to be alright, aren't you?" Tears began forming in her beautiful emerald eyes. Aren't you?" Rose smiled sadly up at her little treasure. "Sorry, Sakura-chan, I won't get to." She coughed up blood. Rose knew her time was coming, for she had taken 2 damage even for a vampire to survive. "To see you grow, my little blossom." She weakly reached up and stroked her daughter's cheek, lovingly wiping the tears away. "I will miss you, Sakura-chan, I love you." Sakura began crying. "I love you too, Ka-san, please don't leave me." "I'm sorry, but at least I'll be reunited with your father." Sakura-chan. Rose weakly turned to her former friend and tried not to wince at the cold gaze. "Kushi-chan, I know you hate everyone for all the things they've done to Naruto-kun, but grant me this last favor and take care of my little Sakura-chan, please, for old time's sake." Kushina stared down at the little girl who was crying, looking at her dying mother. The red-haired woman studied Sakura a little more before sighing. "Very well, I will take care of her." Rose smiled weakly. "Thank you, Kushi-chan." With that, Rose Haruno, one of the last vampires, died and her body became dust. Poor little Sakura wailed her sorrows to the world. Kushina sighed sadly as she knelt beside the girl and hugged her a little. After 30 minutes she took Sakura home and Naruto came to greet her only to stop as he stared at the new arrival. He looks at his mother questionably. Kushina said. "This is Sakura Haruno, she will be staying with us from now on." Naruto narrowed his eyes dangerously as Kushina quickly said. "Don't worry, Naru-kun, she can be trusted, I give you my word." Naruto stared some more before nodding. She led Sakura into the guest room before asking Naruto to come as she whispered to him. "Naru-kun, can I ask a favor of you?" He looks at her, promoting her to continue. "You see, this little girl had just lost her mother, who was a former friend of mine. She died in front of her eyes. Her mother's last wish was for me to take care of her, so please her. I know we don't trust people of this village, but I guarantee you she is different. I promise you that you won't regret it, so can you get along with her? Can you do this for me?" Naruto seemed to give to some thought of this before slowly nodding. "I will try." Kushina smiled brightly at him before kissing him in his forehead as she thanked him. Naruto went the room Sakura stayed in, and surprisingly, they got along well, and as days went by Sakura grew closer to Naruto as her crush grew to full pure love. Though she is as dark and nearly evil as Naruto, and she refused to drink anyone's blood unless it was Naruto, and she always asks for his permission to drink. No matter what is the situation, she refused to just out of nowhere drink it. Time skip 1 week later. It's been a week since Sakura was taken in by the Uzumaki family, and things had changed big time. For one, Sakura absolutely adores Naruto and worships the ground he walks on. Not that she's weak anymore, because Kushina has begun their training in the shinobi arts. Gina and Naomi have begun teaching Naruto how to properly utilize his immense yaki. They don't know or have seen any other vampires since Rose's death, so Sakura might be the last of her kind. But Kushina managed to steal the scroll Tsunade left on how to use her super strength technique. It would be useful for Sakura, especially since as a pure-blooded vampire, she would already be much stronger than normal girls. Sakura has also started learning the darker techniques of medical ninjutsu. Uchiha compound. Yugaku growled as he punched Mikoto in the face, nearly breaking her jaw and definitely giving her a swollen eye. Stupid bitch. I told you that you are not to fraternize with our weapon. Mikoto cried out in pain and held her now bleeding mouth. Yugaku was pissed because this stupid wench tried to talk to Naruto when she passed by him on his way home, but luckily the police force caught her and brought back to him. They did not want to piss off Kushina since the incident a few weeks ago. The Uzumaki matriarch's been very cautious of anyone wearing a Konoha headband, except for her two elder children. One retired jonin who tried something earlier this week disappeared and was never heard from again. His Sharingan glowed with malicious intent as he sneered down at the wench he had chosen to take to his bed and bear his children. Yugaku scoffed in sheer disgust. TCH. She's not even that good in bed. I wish I had managed to seduce Kushina instead of this weak little bitch. At least Kushina actually has the Sharingan and is the daughter of Kurami-sama. Any children that she bared to me would be strong and true Uchiha. Uzumaki compound. Kushina was cutting up some carrots she had gotten to make lunch when suddenly her EMS activated for no reason at all and Kushina looked out the window. Naomi, who was currently in human form and standing next to her, noticed her chakra spike. Gina was training outside in the yard with Naruto and Sakura at the moment. Something wrong, Kushi-chan? The Kitsune Queen inquired. Just a strong urge. I want to head to the Uchiha compound and kill everyone there for some reason. Kushina replied, her taijutsu spinning. Perhaps you should? Naomi asked. Kushina shook her head. No, it's not the right time to yet, Naomi-chan. She deactivated her taijutsu and went back to her cooking. But soon they will all die. They are the biggest threats to Naru-kun and Sakura-chan right now. The other clans are nothing. Uchiha compound. Mikoto whimpered as she felt a new bruise forming on her face, joining several others. She wonders why Fugaku hates her so much when she had loved him since they were kids. It hurt her, knowing he didn't even give her the same rights the other clan heads' wives had. To him, she wasn't even a person but a thing to own. Mikoto felt tears running down her face in sorrow. The gathered Uchiha sneered down at the poor woman. Shisui was impassive, but on the inside he was angry. You just wait until Kushina-sama kills you all. Then you'll know what a true Uchiha is capable of. Their son Sasuke Uchiha had the same dark look in his eyes. His younger sister Maiko, who was basically a carbon copy of Mikoto, whimpered with tears as her brother kept her pinned to the ground and was pulling on her hair. Fugaku watched his son with pride. Sasuke's a true Uchiha just like me. A chip off the old block. He will be a fine head of our clan one day. He sneered down at his hurt daughter. It's nice to see one of my children knows his true destiny. But you, Maiko, you are a disappointment just like your mother here. He gestured to the downed and injured Mikoto. Maiko tried to protest. But to-sama. Sasuke knocked her upside the head, rendering her unconscious. Mikoto cried out. Why, Sasuke-kun? She's your younger sister. It broke her heart to see her son, only 6 years old and already as cruel as his father. The duck-haired boy looked his mother with dark cruel eyes. So? She's weak, mother, and there's no room for weaklings in our clan. Fugaku walked over to Sasuke and patted his shoulder, smiling. That's my boy. Sasuke smiled back. Thank you, to-sama. The Mekager. Akio and Kisame have defeated the best AIM has to offer. The minute they got to this village it was raining, hence its name, and the people claim their god Pain-sama makes it rain. Then a group of AIM Chunin and Jonin attempted to defend their village, only to lose easily to the 2S rank shinobi. Akio didn't even need to activate his Sharingan. The down Chunin groaned. What do you two monsters want with us? Akio lifted him by the throat, his Sharingan now active and spinning. Tell me, where is the one you call Pain-sama? My partner and I wish to have an audience with him. The ninja choked out. Pain-sama will destroy you. We'll see about that. Akio held him up towards his partner. Kisame, kill him. The shark man grinned wickedly. Finally Samehada has been itching to slice. He withdrew his massive sword and was about to kill the Chunin when suddenly a swarm of paper rushed at him. Kisame easily leapt away as the paper storm swarmed where he once stood. Akio scanned and saw a beautiful woman land in front of them. She had pale blue hair tied in a bun with a large paper flower in it. Her eyes were a piercing amber color and she had a metal piercing on her lower lip. What the two Akatsuki members noted was that she looked like she was floating and the lower half of her body along with other parts of her appeared to be made out of paper along with 2 giant paper wings growing out of her back. The people all gasped and muttered tenshi to each other. They knew it was serious if she had come down from the tower. Akio was impressed, but he didn't show it outwardly. I wonder Kisame, is that a hidden jutsu or a Kekkei Genkai? I don't know, but she too will be useful for our organization. I hear she's called Tenshi and works with this Pain guy. Kisame replied, slightly revealing Samehada's scales. The woman spoke in a monotone. Why do you want Pain-sama and I? Akio replied in an equal monotone. Our leader wishes to extend an invitation into our organization. Pain-sama is a god, he needs no one's help. She said before sending another storm of paper at them. Akio flashed through hand seals. Fire release. Grand fireball technique. He breathed out a large fireball which incinerated the paper storm. But it fizzled out before reaching the woman thanks to the rain. Thisum smirked sadistically. Akio-san, let me handle her. He charged forward with his sword raised. The woman simply remained where she was but formed two swords made of paper. In the highest tower of the village, a man wearing a black cloak, with spiky orange hair, facial piercings on his nose and ears, and purple rippled eyes, looked down as he began to deactivate his rain jutsu. It seems someone has infiltrated my rain, luckily Conan should more than powerful enough to handle this, he didn't sense the masked figure appear behind him. Toby grins. So the Rinnegan, eh? It will be exciting to face off against another wielder of one of the legendary three Dojutsu. He flashed through hand seals and shot a grand fireball at Pain. Before Pain Nagato could react, a fireball struck him and sent him flying from the tower. He groaned as he fell. What the someone is in the tower? Toby's Sharingan spun. Come on orange guy, play with Toby. He cried as he jumped down after him carrying flash bombs covered with exploding tags in his arms. Toby then threw them down at Pain and they exploded on contact. Conan stopped her assault as the rain stopped. She looked up and saw the man falling, then the explosion. Her normally cold eyes widened slightly in concern. Nagato-kun. What happened? Thisum appeared in front of her with Samahata raised and his usual wicked grin on. Don't get distracted, woman. He slashed down. On Hagakure Uzumaki compound. Naruto avoided a punch from Sakura as they sparred together, she was really good and a fast learner too. They had been sparring for a few hours, working off the great lunch Kushina made for them. Naruto loved his mother's cooking, she was really good at it too. He then swung his leg delivering a powerful inhuman kick to her side which she barely managed to block. But the force still sent her back a few feet even while blocking. Naruto spoke up calmly. You're good, Sakura-chan. The pink-haired vampiress blushed. Thank you, Naru-kun. Naruto lowered into his fighting stance. Shall we continue, Sakura-chan? Sakura nodded and lowered into her own fighting stance. Yeah, let's go again, Naru-kun. The two young Yakai royalty then rushed together and met head-on with twin kicks, creating a small shockwave that knocked several trees down and cratering the ground slightly beneath them. They soon traded blows that were incredibly powerful for their young age. Gina watched both of them spar from the rooftop. She was very proud of them both. Incredible, Naruto-kun and Sakura-chan are getting so strong and they're still so young. If they're this strong now, then what happens as they get older? She trailed off thinking that if Naruto was this powerful now, then once he got older and received more intense training, not even her younger brothers would be able to defeat him. Gina blushed as she watched Naruto spar with Sakura, his moves were so masterful for his age. She smiled. Naruto-kun, I just know father will accept you. As for Kushina and Hinata, they were on a self-appointed mission. The two Uzumaki beauties were walking around the village, ignoring the looks of fear, jealousy from the other girls, and lust from the men they got. One guy actually had the nerve to try and grab Hinata's ass, only for her to break his arm and nearly crush his mind via Sharingan gain jutsu. But Kushina stopped her, telling her they weren't worth the chakra waste. They walked by the Uchiha compound. Kushina gazed at it with sheer contempt, knowing soon she could and would destroy them all and burn this compound to the ground. Just a few more hours, Shisui had informed her the best time to strike would be during the night when everyone settles down. Time skip night time. Kushina, clad in her Anbu captain's uniform, stood perched on a building rooftop just outside the Uchiha compound, her Anbu fox mask on her shoulder. She tied her long red hair into a ponytail and used a hinge to turn it black. Her daughter Hinata right beside her. There were a few guards patrolling the grounds with their Sharingan active. Arrogant fools thought just like the Hyuga did, thinking their Dojutsu was the only thing they needed to win. She also had a few no officers keeping watch for any of the Hokage's Anbu suddenly coming in. After killing Danzo, it was a simple matter of removing his seals on them and reawakening their emotions. Once that happened, they gladly switched loyalties to Kushina, even more than they ever were to Danzo, probably because their leader now is a powerful beautiful kunoichi instead of an ugly crippled old man. Hinata looked to her mother. Ka-chan, is Shisui in his position? Kushina looked down and sure enough Shisui was stationed where he was supposed to be, on one of the high building tops of the compound. Shisui noticed them and gave them the signal. Kushina nodded. Yes, Hinata-chan, now let's begin. She placed her hands in the horse seal and inhaled, mixing fire and water chakra within her lungs. Boil release. Skilled mist technique. Kushina breathed out a cloud of white vapor which covered the entire lower grounds. Two Uchiha guards suddenly screamed as burns appeared on them and they melted from the corrosive mist. The other guards ran to their dead comrades only to suffer the same fate and melted down into flesh-colored paste. After that, Kushina lowered the pH level of her mist to a much safer level so her daughter and Shisui could get down and kill any stragglers without being harmed by her technique. Kushina leapt down donning her Anbu mask and snuck into the Uchiha homes, killing every person inside. She used the space-time ability of her eternal manjutsu to get in and out of the homes before anyone figured out what happened. She slayed them with her sword. Then it killed people via her terrible gain jutsu, which made Kurenai and the Kurama clan look like rookies in comparison. Shisui used his mastery of body flicker to kill other Uchiha before they could even react, with him slitting their throats with kunai. A couple of the No officers assisted them, one of them a young man called Sai. He had a unique brand of jutsu that allowed him to bring his drawings to life. At the head house, Fugaku stood over the dead form of Makoto, having slit her throat with a kunai. He spat on her face. "Poor Makoto, you never knew I never loved you at all, weakling." He looked to see his son snap Maiko's neck. He smiled. "Well done, Sasuke, you've made me proud." "Thank you too, Sama. So how do we get Naruto?" Sasuke asked. "It won't be easy, son. First we need to get his mother Kushina away from him somehow, unlike this weakling." Fugaku gestured to Makoto's corpse. "Kushina is a true member of our clan with a fully mastered Sharingan and everything," Fugaku explained. "Now she would make a fine wife for me." He grinned in a lecherous manner. "And it doesn't hurt that Kushina far surpasses Makoto in beauty as well as shinobi skill." Sasuke smiled. "She sounds perfect for us too, Sama." "She is Sasuke, and she's even more valuable as the daughter of the first Uchiha leader," Fugaku said. He smirked inwardly. Good thing Izuna-sama was spying on Kushina outside her hospital window after she birthed Naruto. "What? Sama, you mean she's the daughter of Kurami Uchiha? The very same Kurami who challenged Hashirama-sama for the title of Hokage 80 years ago?" the surprised boy exclaimed. "How can she even have children? Isn't she way past childbearing age?" "She had gained the eternal Manjutsu Sharingan, son. It is the ultimate form of our bloodline, granting you immortality, and you remain the age you were when you awakened it. It also has another amazing power, son. If Kushina were to bear any more children, they would inherit her Sharingan and special chakra, which then would allow us to control her youngest son Naruto." The QB was said to be susceptible to the eternal Manjutsu Sharingan. Sasuke said. "I've seen Naruto with her too, Sama." He shivered, having sensed the darkness within his fellow child. It was far greater than even his own. Once, after encountering Naruto with his mother, when Naruto looked at him, Sasuke swore he actually saw the huge shadow of a gigantic black wolf with strange crimson eyes appear above Naruto. What scared Sasuke was the power the shadowed beast practically used. It was equal to the QB, no, even greater, as if the fox was a pathetic peon compared to itself. But that wasn't as scary as the cold gaze the other boy affixed on him. It was like he was looking right into his very soul. "Well, son, if we can capture Naruto and persuade him to see things our way, then Kushina will have no choice but to become my wife. Naruto means the world to her, and she wouldn't risk his life even to kill me." Sasuke smirked evilly. "Maybe I can convince him by becoming his friend too, Sama, then kill him to gain my Manjutsu." Fugaku grinned just as evilly. "That would indeed work, my son." "Don't count on it, Gaki, team," said a cold feminine voice. Before Fugaku could react, a sword impaled him through the chest from behind, piercing through his heart. An Anbu Kunoichi with a fox mask on stood behind him with her sword buried deep within his body. Her long hair was currently tied in a ponytail. Fugaku turned his head weakly. "Ack. Anbu, how did you get in here?" He coughed up blood and it was filling his lungs. "Simple, you arrogant fool, I came in through the door." Kushina glared at him behind her mask. "How does he know that information about me? Not even the old man or the rest of the Shinobi Council knows about my eternal Sharingan. Is it possible someone in the clan was spying on us beforehand? Perhaps I should find this spy and deal with him before this news gets out." She then pulled her sword out of Fugaku and swung it, decapitating him in one clean slash. Sasuke screamed. "To Sama." Suddenly he felt a chakra spike behind him and was grabbed by the throat as he turned to face his assailant and was slammed into the wall behind him. He looked terrified into a pair of Leave 3 Sharingan eyes which changed into a crimson biohazard symbol. Then it used Tsukiyomi to torment Sasuke, making him witness his father's and clan's deaths again and again. But she edited who did the deed in her gain jutsu. She knew the village would take pity on him after this night. Why not pin the blame on the other clans and villagers? It would certainly help her family out. Sasuke screamed in terror. "No, stop. Why are you all betraying us? Are you that jealous of us, Uchiha? You will all pay. Do you hear me, Konoha, you will pay." The young soon-to-be last Uchiha saw his father and fellow arrogant Uchiha get torn apart by an Inuzuka member, brain killed by a Yamanaka, stabbed through with shadow tendrils by a Nara, crushed by an Akimichi's fist via Buban by Kano Jutsu, Jaiken by Hyuga, and the worst was the civilian mobs with torches and pitchforks, who ambushed and finished off the weakened Uchiha. After what seemed to be an eternity but really just a few seconds, Sasuke collapsed with drool coming from his mouth and a lifeless stare into space. Kushina removed her mask revealing her blue-slitted eyes which glowed in the darkness. She released the illusion on her hair, returning it to its normal bright red color. She turned to her daughter who nodded. Shisui appeared before her. Kushina-sama, I have killed everyone on my end as well. He informed her. Good work Shisui Hinata-chan, you head back home, I'll catch up shortly. Kushina ordered. Hi Ka-chan. Hinata vanished via Shunshin. Sai appeared in a swirl of ink before her. Kushina-sama, the guards at the gate have reported some of the Hokage's Anbu are coming having heard the disturbance. Okay thank you Sai, you may take the others and go remain hidden until further orders. Hi, Kushina-sama. Sai vanished in his ink Shunshin. Kushina looked to Shisui who looked rather scared now, worried she might kill him. He doesn't want die yet, he knows he still has some use to her. Kushina then placed her hand on Shisui's shoulder. You did good tonight Shisui. She noticed his trembling and playfully smacked him on the back sending him flying due to her immense strength. My. You're so frightened you're shaking. Shisui groaned as his flight sent him through the paper door and outside. He was disoriented as he got up and vanished via Shunshin as well. Kushina smiled. Don't worry Shisui, you're too useful to me to kill you for now. She then saw the corpses of Mikoto and Maiko. Kushina could tell they were already dead before her massacre got started. She shook her head as past memories of her old genin team tried to make their way to the surface. Kushina activated her eternal Manjikyu and used the Amaterasu burning the corpses to ashes. With that done, she vanished via body flicker. On this night which would be forever dubbed the Uchiha Massacre, the Uchiha clan was no more now reduced down to a tiny handful. Harami stood atop one of the buildings with a smile. Kushina-chan, I'm so proud for you, you're more like me than you know Musum. Tobi grinned. One-chan's really become quite ruthless hasn't she Ka-chan? Of course Tukun thanks to her husband for trying to make her son, my grandson, a loyal tool to this worthless village. Kushina-chan wouldn't care less if it burst into flames. Karami informed. She and Toby soon vanished as if sucked into a void. The mysterious man was watching with great interest. My how interesting Ni-chan, your daughter is as ruthless as you are a true Uchiha through and through. I'm looking forward to getting to know my grandnephew. He vanished in a clap of red lightning. Time skipped 2 years later. Naruto and Sakura, now age 8, are going to the ninja academy for their first day of it. Not like they really need the academy. Kushina taught them everything they needed to know last year. Tree walking, water walking, leaf exercise, kunai balancing the works. Naomi was with Naruto hidden in his jacket that Kushina gave him. Gina was walking beside them in her dog form. Sakura wore a simple red shirt and black pants, easy for beginning academy students to move around in. The crowd was whispering. Great, it's here with its whore. Yeah, why can't Hokage-sama see that this thing needs to die? It's bad enough it's still alive, but now they're going to teach it how to kill. We must find a way to protect our children from it. They saw the large canine walking with him and cowered, remembering the incident where several people lost their lives to that thing. The whispers stopped and they kept their mouths shut and looked away in fear. Naruto just tuned them out completely, walking as if they weren't even there. Sakura leaned against Naruto enjoying his scent as they walked together, ignoring the foolish ninja. Kushina was leading her son and Sakura to the academy, making sure no one tried anything. Oh but wait, someone would try something. The gruff man who looked like a younger version of Hiruzen wearing a fire monk cloth over his pants appeared in their path. He was Asuma Saratobi, Hiruzen's second-born son and a former member of the Fire Guardians. Naruto stopped and looked to the man with a calm, calculating gaze. Sakura glared at the man who dared to impede their path. Kushina narrowed her eyes coldly. But she chose to stand back and let her son handle this. Asuma smirked. So you're entering the academy, monster? Not on my watch. You will miss the first day and every day afterwards. I refuse to let you get any stronger. He shot through hand seals. Fire release. Ash pile burning. He breathed out a cloud of grey ash. The villagers silently rooted him on. Naruto silently raised one hand and then punched forward, sending a powerful air wave out, snuffing out the ash, as well as blowing several civilians away. It also knocked Asuma off his feet. Being a jonin, he managed to get back on his feet. Asuma was shocked. That was his best fire jutsu, and the demon just destroyed it like it was nothing. He then donned his trench knives and sent chakra into them until a powerful chakra pressure froze him. Sweat dripped down his face as he looked at Kushina, who had her arms crossed but was glaring at him coldly with slitted blue eyes. A full materialization of the Kyuubi appeared above her, snarling. Asuma gulped. He didn't have a prayer against this woman. She could tear him to shreds with ease. Asuma silently growled but retreated for the time being. He gave one last glare to Naruto, who gazed impassively back. Your mother won't be around to protect you forever, demon. When you're alone you are finished. Soon they arrived at the academy where the other parents were dropping off their children. The other children saw Naruto and flinched at his impassive stare. No child their age should ever be so cold and mature. Their parents would glare at Naruto, but with Kushina here they don't want to risk a fight breaking out near the academy. Soon warned Kiba. Stay away from that boy pup, he's bad news. If you must be near him then try to make him look bad. Badaka-sama. Her son, a wild-looking boy, replied. A little white puppy standing next to him barked in agreement. Inoichi spoke to his daughter. Make the demon miserable, princess. Do it for your mother. But be discreet. The cute platinum blonde girl wearing simple clothes nodded. I will, daddy. That freak will pay for killing mommy. Inoichi smiled and kissed her on the cheek. That's my good girl. The Ashi spoke coldly. Do not fail me, Hinata. You must be the #1 student. He gazed icily at his oldest daughter. Do you understand? The cute girl with short blue hair and lavender eyes copied the gaze at her father. Understood too, Sama. She replied in an equally icy tone. Hinata turned her gaze on Naruto. So that's the so-called demon of Konoha. He's pretty cute for a so-called monster. She smirked. Maybe I'll pursue him just to spite you too, Sama. It's your fault, Kasa-eyed. A certain dark-haired boy glared at everyone. Sasuke growled in his mind. It's all their fault, my clan is dead, and worse, they dare try and kiss up to me. This village will pay for what it's done. The tan chunin with a scar on his nose was greeting the parents. He had brown hair tied in a similar style to Anko's. Iruka Yamino had been promoted to chunin just a year ago and was assigned this teaching job of the new generation by Sarutobi. He loved kids and was looking forward to teaching the clan heirs. Until a boy with long spiky golden blonde hair with an exotic mixture of red and onyx black highlights running through it and cold blue eyes came into his sight. His hair was tied in the back in a small ponytail similar to Tsukumo Hataki's, with jaw-length red-tipped bangs outlining either side of his handsome young face like Minato's, a boy that girls would just go gaga over even at this young age. The chunin's tan face paled with fear. He knew just who this boy was, especially seeing the red-haired woman beside him, but he didn't recognize the pink-haired girl walking next to him. Okami? No, not him. Not the demon brat. Why is he here? Even now, Iruka still had nightmares of that horrible day when the demon unleashed his evil energy. He received more scars on other parts of his body, but luckily he and Mizuki were actually the farthest away when Naruto's Yaki was unleashed, so they were injured in the least. Iruka shook his head in disbelief. Why is Hokage-sama allowing her son to become a shinobi? That woman is bad enough, but if he becomes a ninja we're all done for. Mizuki glared. Great, it's here. If that bitch weren't around I'd finish the job we started. The job Yondaime-sama left for us to finish. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the chunin's action. It's hard to believe I was once human. Iruka smiled as best he could as he came upon them. Hello, Naruto, was it? I'm Iruka Yamino and I'll be your instructor for your academy experience. Naruto sniffed the air in his direction, easily recognizing the scent of one of the people from that day. He narrowed his eyes into an even icier gaze. So he was a part of the mob that nearly killed me that day. A giant demonic wolf-shaped shadow materialized behind him and crimson eyes gazed coldly at Iruka. Iruka paled, seeing Naruto's eyes darken as if. Oh no, he must recognize me from that day. If he tells his mother I'm finished, that woman will tear me and Mizuki to pieces. He paled wider, seeing the giant beast seemingly materialize behind Naruto from out of thin air. But it wasn't the Kyuubi though, no, it was larger and more deadly, a gigantic black wolf with some blonde highlights in its fur and crimson eyes, which resembled a mutated fusion of the Sharingan and Rinnegan. But what really scared Iruka to an Orochimaru white was the number of tails that he counted behind it. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, what the? 10 tails. What is that thing? It has more tails than the demon fox. And why am I the only one who can see it? Sakura felt Naruto's Yaki flare up slightly. She looked concerned. I wonder why Narukun's Yaki suddenly flared when this man came up to us. Then it came to Sakura. She remembered Kushina had told her of when Naruto awakened his demonic power and the people responsible for nearly killing him. The vampire princess narrowed her eyes and her pupils shrunk into slits. It was just another reminder of why she hated this village and its people. They had taken her mother from her and tried to harm her beloved. Sakura was thankful she was born a vampire and not a human. Iruka suddenly felt as if an earthquake nearly crushed his mind. Naomi in her fox kit form popped her head slightly out of Naruto's jacket. So this man is a survivor of that mob. I thought I killed them all. He must have gotten lucky. Kushina sensed her son's animosity toward this man. Naruto-kun, she gave her own icy glare to Iruka. What did you do to my Sachi-chunin? Iruka gulped nervously. Kushina noticed the gulp and walked closer. Is something wrong, Iruka-san? You seem to be quite shaken. Nothing, Kushina-sama. Iruka stuttered, trying not to faint. Kushina had her Sharingan active, reading his body language. You're lying to me, aren't you? She moved closer until she was right in his space. Tell me why my son is showing you such hostility. Kushina was easily capable of sensing negative emotions, another little gift gained from being Naomi's previous Jinchuriki. Iruka paled to whiter than Orochimaru. He was on the verge of wetting his pants. Kushina smirked. She loved interrogation. Hell, she taught that annoying brat Marino everything he knew, but not everything she knew. The Sharingan was the best bloodline to interrogate someone with. It beat the Yamanaka's mind bloodline hands down. Her Sharingan spun fast as it then morphed into its ultimate form. EMS. Iruka's feeble mental defenses were crushed by the legendary Taijutsu instantly. Iruka couldn't keep quiet and revealed everything to the Uzumaki matriarch, how he was a member of the mob that nearly killed Naruto 2 years ago, which sparked him to release Naomi, therefore embracing his destiny as the Juubi's heir. Kushina EMS glowed red as the ground cracked underneath her feet and her chakra flared up, sending everyone except Naruto, Sakura, Gina, and Naomi to their knees in fright from the huge amount of pressure. This man nearly killed her son and he's supposed to teach him and Sakura. Not on her watch. Kushina's right arm flared up with fire chakra. Flames danced on her arm, licking at the other now terrified clan heads. She raised her arm as the flames flared brighter. Soon what sounded like a dragon's roar was heard. Iruka shivered as the flames lit up his terrified face. Sasuke watched with interest. An advanced Sharingan and a godlike affinity for fire. Sama, you were right as always. She's perfect for me. I will make her my wife when I'm older and breed a whole new Uchiha clan. Naruto was looking at his mother's fire-covered arm in interest. Kachan mentioned she was a master of fire, but to actually utilize it purely without hand seals. Incredible. Sakura was starstruck. Kushina-sama's mastery of fire is unrivaled. Iruka cowered as Kushina brought her arm down, ready to tear his head off. He closed his eyes, awaiting the sweet embrace of death. He waited for a few minutes, but didn't feel the fire blade slicing into him. When he opened his eyes again, Kushina's arm had stopped an inch from his head, the flames licking at his skin. He was practically sweating up a storm from the heat's close proximity. Soon the flames slowly died down, before flickering out altogether. But Kushina still had an icy gaze on him. She then lifted him up by the vest and took him elsewhere to speak with him. Taking him to the other side of the building, Iruka groaned as Kushina threw him against the wall. Iruka's body cracked the wall upon impact due to Kushina's immense strength. He slid down painfully, and he then saw his friend Mizuki also there on the ground, cowering before the angry cold mother. Naruto shook his head. It would seem Kachan will talk to our instructors on how things will be done. He crossed his arms and closed his eyes. Sakura joined him. The other children were shocked. The other parents, long since Kushina's Kai faded, left after saying goodbye to their children, except for Hinata and of course Sasuke. The Hyuga heiress narrowed her eyes at the pink-haired girl. With Iruka and Mizuki. Iruka whispered to his friend. You told her too, didn't you? Mizuki nodded, shivering. Yeah. She scares me. Me too, Mizuki, me too. Iruka said, trembling himself. Kushina spoke icily. So you two were a part of the mob that tried to murder my son 2 years ago? Iruka and Mizuki both nodded in terror. Kushina looked down at them with pure venom. If it weren't for the fact that you two are to be my son's academy instructors, I would have killed you right now. If Naruto-kun had asked me to, I would have hunted you both down and killed you back then. Her eyes bled red as her EMS came into existence. Now I will show you what true terror means, Tsukiyomi. Iruka and Mizuki were tortured within the Tsukiyomi for 4 days straight, which outside equaled less than a second, for in that realm Kushina was Kami. But Kushina knew they were needed to help her son and Sakura, so she spared them for now. She healed the mental damage she caused, so they were able to teach and spar with the students. Remember this, Chunin, Kushina spat out venomously. You're only being spared because you're necessary to further my son's and Sakura-chan's training. She turned to leave, but gave them one last malicious look over her shoulder. Oh, and one more thing. If I ever discover that any of you tried to hold either Naruto or Sakura-chan or even both of them back, then I will kill you both and every other instructor at the academy. Kushina vanished via body flicker, heading back to say goodbye to Naruto and Sakura for the day, leaving behind 2 cowering Chunin, or rather 1 cowering and 1 seething Chunin. Mizuki was stewing in his hatred. Stupid red-haired bitch. Just wait until Orochimaru-sama gives me power, then you'll be sorry. I think then I'll make you and your daughter my bitches and kill your precious demon brat along with his demon whore. The white-haired Chunin sneered as he looked at the cowering Iruka. Ha. You're as pathetic as always, Yumino. I never liked you. Soft worthless fool. Kushina hugged Naruto and kissed him on the cheek. Give it your all, Naru-kun, Sakura-chan, and tell me if they try anything. Yes, Ka-chan. Naruto replied, giving his mother a gaze that sent waves of pleasure down her spine. Sakura nodded. Same here, Kushina-sama. Have fun on your first day. Kushina smiled and disappeared in a swirl of water. Iruka and Mizuki came back and led them all inside the classroom. Iruka was about to protest Naruto, bringing the large dog standing next to him inside, until Naruto explained that she was his familiar same thing with the chibi fox when she popped her head out of his jacket to see what was happening. Once they were seated, Naruto and Sakura sitting together in the back row, of course. Iruka began to speak. Alright, welcome to your first semester and day of the Ninja Academy. I'm Iruka Yamino, the head instructor and your teacher. This is Mizuki Toji, my assistant. We will be teaching you all the works of being a shinobi. Now, who would like to introduce themselves first? Tell us your name, likes, dislikes, hobbies, and dreams for the future. Oh. The wild boy, Tsume's son, raised his hand energetically. Let me go first. I want to go first. Iruka chuckled. Alright, you with the puppy on your head, you can go first. Yahoo! The boy whooped. Sasuke inwardly sneered. You can go prance around all the way to hell in Yazuka scum. Fangirls from civilian families and Ino swooned around his coolness, forming what would forever be known as the SFC or Sasuke fan club. Now, if the girls weren't warned by their parents to avoid Naruto or frightened by his aura of pure darkness, then he too would have a fan club. Sakura looked disgusted at her own gender's idiocy. The Uchiha boy scent was not attractive at all, not like her Naruto-kun's, which sent shivers of pleasure down her spine just from being near him. Sasuke was arrogant and foolish. Now Sakura may be prideful as the vampire princess, but there's a difference between having pride and a god complex. Naruto completely ignored the idiot. Sakura, wanting to be as close to him, leaned against him as they tuned out everyone else. The boy shouted. Oi. I'm Kiba in Yazuka. I love my family, dogs, meat, girls, and being number one. I hate freaks like that Naruto kid and jackasses like Sasuke. My hobbies are training with Akamaru and my one-e-san. My dream is to be the next Yazuka head and have many girls. His puppy named Akamaru yipped in agreement. Gina ignored Akamaru. It was shameful what happened to the dogs who still had traces of her clan's demon blood within them, as this pup did. They now served humans as pets. Or ninkin, as the ninja called them. As the queen of all the canines, it brought great shame and disgrace to their kind for her to see them so subservient to humans. Why did her father have to give a small portion of his blood to the Yazuka ancestor? Instead, she went to sleep. Many introductions were typical dreams from civilian-born students. The fangirls all squealed that they would marry Sasuke-kun. The other clan heirs also wished to become the next heads of their clan, though when Hinata mentioned desires, she gave a discreet glance towards Naruto and mentions dislikes or hates. She glared at Sakura, who just waved it off. Sasuke mentioned he wished to avenge his clan by killing those responsible and then revive his clan, and what scared the other clan children except Naruto is that Sasuke glared at all of them coldly, as if they or their parents were guilty of a terrible atrocity. He also mentally mentioned making a red-haired beauty his wife when he's matured enough. Naruto's turn came. The demonic prince spoke in a monotone. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I love my family, Sakura-chan, Naomi-chan, and Gina-chan. I despise practically everyone else in this entire pathetic village. My hobbies are training with my mother, Sakura-chan, and the others. My dream is not a dream, but a goal. I plan to become the strongest person in the entire world. Kiba snorted. As if a freak like you is strong. My Ka-san says you've been weakened by Yondaime-sama after that night. Naruto looked at him icily. Want to test your theory in Yazuka? His nails began to sharpen into claws, his pupils narrowing into slits. Akamaru actually whimpered from Naruto's gaze. That was the look of an alpha male. Kiba snarled, baring his own claw-like nails. Bring it on, freak. Iruka yelled. Kiba. Enough. You have detention after class. His head somehow growing 5 times its size, scaring the other kids except Naruto and Sakura. Kiba groaned. His mother would so kill him for getting detention. Not to mention his older sister Hana would ridicule him for getting it on the very first day. Iruka looked to Sakura. Your turn, young lady. Sakura spoke just as cold as Naruto did. My name is Sakura Haruno. I love Naru-kun, his family, Gina-sama, and Naomi-sama. Like Naru-kun, I hate every other person in this village. She said the word person like spitting out something vile, and her canine teeth seemed to lengthen along with her eyes glowing crimson. Iruka winced at how she lashed out at humanity. My hobbies are being with Naru-kun, training, and scaring people. At that, Sakura grinned sadistically, her canines now more favored long fangs in appearance. My dream is to help Naruto-kun become the strongest and to marry him. She blushed shyly looking at Naruto. Naruto also had a slight blush on his face. Sakura-chan. Gina raised her head, now awake. Well, it seems like I'm not the only one interested in Naruto-kun, she groaned looking to Kiba. That boy smells so awful. Doesn't he have any canine pride at all? Haruka blinked. He saw Sakura's teeth briefly become razor sharp. Okay, thank you for that interesting introduction, Sakura. Haruka checked his list and nodded. That's everyone. Okay class, normally we'd start learning the village's history. Everyone groaned at this. But because this is a special class with all the clan heirs in it, we will instead have our first sparring session. History can come later. At that everyone cheered. Haruka announced. Okay everyone, let's go to the training field. With that he and Mizuki led the class outside. The students all lined up. Boys and girls all together. Naruto and Sakura stood together away from the others. Hinata was glaring at the pink-haired vampire. He will be mine, you pink-haired bitch. No one keeps a Hokage's desired one for too long. Ino squealed and hugged Sasuke, much to the protest of the other new fangirls. Sasuke-kun. I hope you and I get to train together. Sasuke looked at her coldly. Get off me. He was inwardly resisting the urge to plunge a kunai into her head. Her clan had helped murder his as far he had seen. Ino obeyed, looking rather scared, but her fangirl bravado came back and she quickly got over it. The platinum blonde then saw Naruto and scowled. That freak killed my mother and hurt daddy. He'll pay. But daddy said I should be discreet about it. I know. I'll pretend to be nice then humiliate him. The shallow girl skipped over to Naruto when Sakura stepped into her path. The pink-haired vampire princess looked coldly at Ino. Why are you coming over here, Yamanaka? Ino felt her bravado fade and trembled as Sakura unleashed a bit of demonic ki at her. She stuttered. I just wanted to speak with Naruto. Sakura glared harder. Stay away from Naruto-kun, neither of us has any interest in befriending a weakling fool like you. Ino felt her bravado or foolishness return and glared back. Do you know who I am, Haruno? I am Ino Yamanaka. Heiress to the Yamanaka clan. Sakura smirked. So? Naruto-kun's the heir to his mother's clan, the Uzumaki. Ino smirked smugly. They must not be much of a clan if he, his mother and his siblings are the only ones left. What bloodline do they have, or do they even have one? I'll bet his clan is just a no-name weak clan from a backwoods village. Oh, Ino is dead now. Big mistake. The one thing you never do is insult the Uzumaki clan, it could cost you your very life. Sakura lowered her head, trembling but not with fear. Naruto looked coldly at Ino. If you know what's good for you, Yamanaka, you won't insult my clan again. Ino looked smug still. Or what? She was stopped as Sakura slapped her hard across the face, knocking her clean off her feet, leaving a painful red mark thanks to her vampiric strength, but luckily she held back just enough as so not to knock Ino's swollen head right off. Naruto chuckled in amusement. Or that will happen. Nice job, Sakura-chan. Sakura turned to him, blushing shyly. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Haruka looked shocked to see Ino on the ground rubbing a red mark on her face and Sakura standing over her. Ino? What happened? Ino pointed to Sakura accusingly. She slapped me, Haruka-sensei. Sakura glared down at Ino. You insulted Naruto-kun's clan. Ino got to her feet and glared back. Lightning seemed to come from the two girls' eyes as they glared hard at each other. Mizuki chuckled and placed a hand on Haruka's shoulder. It seems these two are fired up, Haruka-sensei, maybe they should be the first ones to spar together. Haruka sighed. Very well, Ino. Sakura, do you two have any problems with that? Ino shook her head, still glaring at Sakura. I don't. Sakura agreed, which disgusted her, agreeing with a mere human. I have no problem with it either, sensei. Haruka nodded. Very well, step onto the field. Sakura walked into the field with a grace unmatched by any of the other girls in the class. She seemed to emanate the aura of a noble, as if she was a princess of some kind, which unknown to the village she was. Even Hinata glared jealously at her graceful movements. Ino was also jealous, seeing some of the boys go gaga for Sakura's cute looks. She was steaming mad. How can this pink-haired bitch be more popular than me? Haruka announced. Alright, the first match between Ino Yamanaka and Sakura Haruno will now begin. Whoever falls first loses. He raised his hand and cut down. Hajim. Ino grinned and got into a sloppy fighting stance. I'm going to win, Haruno. After all, I'm a clan heiress and you're just a nobody who loves a freak. Ino declared arrogantly. She then rushed at Sakura but was so slow that in Sakura's eyes, grass grew much faster. Ino threw a weak punch at Sakura, only to have her catch it with just one finger. Ino looked shocked. What? The boys gasped. Sakura looked bored. Is this all you can do? I'm disappointed, Yamanaka-san. Ino growled and tried to push her fist forward, but she would better luck trying to move a mountain. Sakura didn't budge an inch. Ino was struggling and soon tired out, having no physical training from her father yet. She was exhausted. Ino was panting and sweating profusely. "Just what are you, Haruno?" Sakura smiled darkly, revealing her sharp fangs. Ino trembled at the sight of them. "What's with those teeth? Is she a demon too?" "You'll find out someday, Yamanaka-san, but for now let's just say that Naru-kun and I are alike in more ways than our mutual hatred of you all." Sakura let go of Ino's fist and brought her hand to Ino's forehead. Her hand was in a position with the last 3 fingers out, but her index finger pressed against her thumb, and both were curled back. Sakura flicked Ino in the forehead with her index finger, sending her flying back several meters. Ino crashed into a tree head first and was unconscious with a slight concussion. Sakura looked to her downed opponent with a smirk. "Know your place," Iruka announced. "Winner Sakura Haruno." Inwardly he was really scared. What incredible strength. She almost reminds me of the stories of Tsunade-sama in her youth. Mizuki was shaking. "She's a monster like that demon brat and his whore of a mother." Sakura walked back to Naruto and smiled shyly. "Sorry if it was boring for you, Naru-kun, that girl was not a worthy opponent for me." Naruto nodded. "It's fine, Sakura-chan, I hope I at least get a workout from one of these weaklings." Sasuke looked at Naruto as if he was inferior. "HMPH. You'll have a worthy opponent in me, freak. More like, you're my worthy opponent." He walked up. "Iruka-sensei." "Yes, Sasuke?" the Chunin asked. "I want my opponent to be Naruto Uzumaki," Sasuke asked nicely. But the demanding way he said it proved otherwise. Naruto looked at him coldly. "I accept your challenge, Uchiha." Iruka nodded to them both. "Very well, the second match will be underway." Naruto and Sasuke faced each other looking ice cold. Mizuki grinned darkly. "That freak doesn't have a chance against Uchiha-sama." The second match between Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto Uzumaki will commence. "Boys, are you both ready?" Iruka asked them. "Yes," the 2 boys simultaneously replied in a cold monotone. Kiba sniggered. "Wow. I'll bet those 2 freaks will get along." Just suddenly Kiba feels the air around him turn icy cold as Sakura and the Sasuke fangirls unleashed Kai at him. Akamaru wasn't scared of the fangirls' Kai, but Sakura's demonic Kai. He whimpered and got behind Kiba, trembling. Kiba tended to his spooked pup while trembling himself. "Hajime." Sasuke smirked arrogantly. "You're going down, Uzumaki," he declared. "It's only natural cause I'm an Uchiha elite." Naruto was impassive with his arms crossed. "Glowed after you've won Uchiha," he replied coldly. Sasuke rushed at Naruto and was much faster than Ino was, that was for sure, but still moved at a snail's pace in the demon prince's eyes. Sasuke swung his fist only to have Naruto easily dodge it. The Uchiha Avenger growled and continued his assault only for Naruto skillfully dodge each one. Like a genin taking on a jonin. Sasuke's fangirls screamed, cheering their hero on. "Humble that demon, Sasuke-kun. Yeah, you're the greatest man in the entire village, Sasuke-kun. No one can beat you, Sasuke-kun. Oh, Sasuke-kun. Win this for me, Sasuke-kun." Gina looked incredibly annoyed at them. Can they ever be quiet? She was almost tempted to kill them to end their pitiful existence. But that would bring trouble to Naruto, something she would never allow. Sakura watched with an expecting gaze. That Uchiha fool has no chance against Naru-kun. Not only is Naru-kun far better looking, but he has already activated his Dojutsu. He can now give Kushina-sama and Hinata-sama a run for their money. She purred in her mind. This will be a short fight for Naru-kun. Too bad none of these weaklings can give us an actual challenge. One of Sasuke's newest fangirls, an arrogant loud girl with purple hair and grey eyes, walked up to Sakura as if challenging her with 2 other unnamed girls. She practically oozed arrogance and smugness. Her name was Ami, and she was an orphan, having lost her parents in the QB attack like the other orphans. She was immensely spiteful towards those, especially the kids from shinobi families, who still had their parents to raise and love them. Ami sneered. "Your freaky boyfriend's done for, Pinky. Sasuke-kun will demolish him." Her 2 equally weak lackeys agreed. Sakura completely tuned them out, not even glancing in their direction. They weren't worth any attention at all on her part. Ami glared. "Hey. Listen to me when I'm speaking to you, bitch." She then foolishly reached out to grab Sakura's shoulder, only to be sent flying by a vicious, barely visible backhand by the vampire girl. Ami hit the same tree Ino did and slipped down unconscious. Ami's lackeys trembled before the now angered vampire princess. Sakura's crimson yaki was cracking the ground beneath her feet, and around her, she was basically surrounded by a small but really strong pillar of yaki. You could actually see a swarm of bats within the light fluttering around. Sakura glared at them with glowing red slit eyes and her fangs bared. The pink-haired vampire princess snarled. "Filthy humans, how dare you! You are not worthy to touch me. Only Naru-kun and his family may touch me. Know your place." Sakura calmed herself and looked back at the completely one-sided battle. Hinata raised an eyebrow. She calls them human, which means Naruto-kun isn't the only demon around here. How interesting. Sasuke panted. What are you? How can you just avoid all my blows like that? All of his blows could damage an Uchiha Chunin thanks to his father's ruthless training, but Naruto outclassed him in every way. But simple really. The demonic prince spoke with his back to him, then phased out of sight. DBZ-style speed, Naruto reappeared behind Sasuke, shocking him. Sasuke was completely stunned. No way. He's just too fast, I can't even follow his moves. I'm just stronger than you, Uchiha. That's all there is to it. Naruto replied monotonously. Sasuke glared and then turned around, going through hand seals. I refuse to believe that Uzumaki. Die. Fire release. Grand fireball technique. Sasuke inhaled before launching a large fireball at Naruto. The blonde just stood still thinking. I could dodge it. No, I think I will play with the Uchiha a little more. The fireball engulfed Naruto and then exploded. Ino and Sasuke's fangirls cheered, but Sakura knew better and remained calm. She smirked. Fools, this why humans are lesser beings. Sasuke smirked. TCH. That will teach him. I am the best. No name clan can compare to the Uchiha. Mizuki and Iruka were proud. Sasuke will be rewarded for killing the demon. But then a silhouette appeared through the smoke and soon it cleared to reveal Naruto perfectly fine with his arms crossed. Well, it was a little cold in here. Thank you, Uchiha, for warming me up. Sasuke gaped, now exhausted of most of his chakra. What? He survived a direct hit from a C-rank jutsu without a scratch. What is he? No. Impossible. How did he survive? Was the thought of the Chunin dumb duo. He really is a monster. Naruto then vanished and reappeared behind Sasuke. Sorry Uchiha, but not good enough. Naruto knocked Sasuke out with a quick chop to the neck. Sasuke fell to the ground unconscious. Sasuke's fangirls went silent at seeing their precious Sasuke-kun fall. Mizuki was speechless. He clenched his fists. No. How can that demon defeat Sasuke-sama? Iruka announced shakily. Winner Naruto Uzumaki. Oh man, I was right. She trained him to be an even worse monster than before. Hokage Tower. The Jonin were all watching with shock except for two, of course. Naruto had not only survived a C-rank jutsu, but he knocked out Sasuke as if he was a mere insect. Sarutobi was completely floored. Incredible. The boy's only 8, yet he already has Jonin level speed. Just what kind of training has Kushina put her son through for him to reach this level at such a young age? Kushina couldn't be prouder of her son. She nearly did have a heart attack when that grand fireball hit him, but he pulled through without even a single scratch. That's my Naruto-kun, I'm so proud of you. Yet another victory for me over that smug Team Fugaku, may he rest in hell. She giggled inwardly. Then it was practically on cloud 9. My Itato-kun is the best of his generation. He was stunned, speechless physically and mentally. Asuma was shocked. The demon's as fast as Guy nearly. Training GROUND number 9. The tall cheerful Jonin with a bowl-cut caterpillar-sized eyebrows and a green jumpsuit beneath his Jonin vest sneezed. Achoo. I have sneezed. Have I caught a youthful cold? Guy-sensei, is it not said that a sneeze means someone is speaking about you? A younger clone of Guy in the same green jumpsuit screamed out energetically. This was his personal student Rock Lee. You must be correct, Lee. I must discover who it is. If I cannot, I shall repair the poor parts of the villages using only my tongue. Guy exclaimed loudly. Guy-sensei. I will help you on your search, and if I fail I will run to the deserts of K's no Kuni and back on my hands with my legs tied to a rock. Lee exclaimed just as loud. Lee. Guy-sense. Lee. Guy-sensei. Insert more Guy-sensei. Lee then insert annoying sun gain jutsu that will not ever be seen. Not in this story. Moving on. The tall male Hyuga with long curly hair groaned and resisted the urge to gouge his own precious eyes out with a kunai. Why did destiny curse me with those two? A young woman with her brown hair and twin buns and wearing a pink Chinese shirt and black pants was trying to block the annoyances out with the thunk of her weapons on the dummies. Academy training ground. Iruka got everyone's attention with a strange technique that made his head grow and continued to spars. Hinata fought and completely humiliated Kiba. Choji and Shikamaru fought, but as best friends, they quit and ate Choji's potato chips together while gazing out the window. Shino fought one of Sasuke's fangirls who ran away screaming bug demon freak and therefore forfeiting the match. The other matches were all boring civilian children trying to play ninja, so they all lost. Ami got lucky, she fought another fangirl even weaker than herself, she brutalized the poor other girl. Now with Sasuke and Ino conscious again and healed by the academy medic, it was time for the next part of the spar. Sparring with Iruka or Mizuki. Iruka announced. Alright, this is the last part of sparring. You can choose to spar with either Mizuki or myself. You must last at least 5 minutes against us. Mizuki smiled, but it strained slightly as he looked to Naruto and Sakura, or as he called them now, the demon couple. He assured the students. Don't worry, we'll be sure to go easy on you. Sasuke chose Iruka much to Mizuki's ire and lasted the full 5 minutes. Shino fought Iruka, then Shikamaru who used his clan's shadow imitation technique, Ino used mind-body switch technique, Hinata chose Mizuki and closed some of his tenketsu with her gentle fist. After the 5 minutes she reopened them for him. Mizuki said. I choose Naruto Uzumaki to fight me. Iruka gaped. Mizuki, I thought the students had free reign to choose. Mizuki took Iruka aside and whispered. They do, but that thing is not a boy. Mizuki, have you forgotten Kushina's threat? You know how strong she is. Iruka warned. She'll tear you apart and me by association. TCH. Hokage-sama can't protect us from that bitch. Mizuki said smugly. Iruka shook his head. No, he can't. Even Yondaime-sama had no chance against Kushina unless he uses his Hiraishin. Even then, just barely. I saw one of their fights when I was a kid and my parents were off duty and took me to see the match between them. Sandaime-sama's way past his prime while she's still young. Kushina could kill all of us and Hokage-sama and still have time to teach her son new jutsu. Mizuki looked incredulously at him. You're lying, Iruka, no way, the bitch is that strong. Yondaime-sama was a god. It's the truth, Mizuki, she is that strong, and Yondaime-sama was not a god, he was human like all of us. Iruka said with an eye twitching. Why did the whole village believe that Minato was a god? It was baffling. Mizuki growled. I refuse to believe it until I see it. Yubaka, we did see it. Have you forgotten, she used the ultimate gain jutsu of the Manjikyu Sharingan on us earlier. I had heard rumors that jutsu was extremely taxing on the user's eyes, yet she wasn't even phased using it. Iruka yelled frustrated. Mizuki still was in denial. Whatever. Get up here, Uzumaki. I'm already here. Naruto replied, making Iruka and Mizuki jump. There he was standing in a calm pose with his arms crossed, icy stare right at them. Mizuki smirked. Try to last 5 minutes, Uzumaki. He withdrew 2 kunai from his pouch and wrapped an exploding tag around each one's hilt, disguising them via gain jutsu as blunt training kunai. He grinned darkly. These will kill you and end your wretched life, demon. Mizuki lowered into a stance and got ready to throw the hidden kunai. As you wish, I'll end this quickly. Naruto said calmly and raised one hand at Mizuki. A powerful shockwave of force burst out and knocked Mizuki away, sending him into the wall. He hit his head and fell unconscious. The battle ending in just 10 seconds. Iruka gaped in terror. Unbelievable. He beat a Chunin so easily. Sasuke growled, clenching his fists. How? How the hell is he so powerful? I'm an Uchiha, I deserve that power. I'll force you, Uzumaki, to teach me your tricks and use them to kill the other clan heirs and everyone else in this wretched village. Kiba trembled. He's only an academy student like us, yet is strong enough to beat a Chunin. He is a monster, just as Kasama said. Akamaru whimpered, hiding behind Kiba. Naruto scared him in more ways than one. The little pup could feel deep within his being, the stuff Naruto showed so far was nothing but the tip of the iceberg. Sakura smiled. Of course Naru-kun wins, a mere Chunin is nowhere near skilled enough to give us a true challenge. Hokage Tower. Once again all the Jonin were speechless. An academy student defeated one of the most skilled Chunin in the village with such ease. Kushina was watching the orb with pride in her eyes. My son is dominating the academy. Hinata was proud as well. This time Guy joined the other Jonin, having dismissed his team for today. His eyes sparkled. Ah. Such a talented lad. Hokage-sama, when the boy has graduated I would love to train him into jutsu. He performed his infamous pose. I could make him the newest green beast. Everyone imagined Naruto in one of those freaky outfits proclaiming youth, which clashed with the calm collected boy they currently saw in the crystal. Everyone, especially Kushina and Hinata, shivered at the image in her minds. I ducked as a kunai was thrown at him coated in fire chakra. The fire-coated kunai hit the wall with a thunk and burned a hole through it. He looked to see Kushina with her hand outstretched, showing she had thrown the kunai. You are not allowed within 50 yards of my son Guy, Kushina said in a cold warning tone. I would rather kiss the Hibi team than allow Guy to train my Naru-kun and force him into one of those atrocities. I was either really brave or really stupid, most likely the latter. He just gave her his signature thumbs up, complete with the pose and shining teeth. Don't worry, Kushina-sama. With my help, your boy will grow up to become a fine young man whose flames of youth equal mine and Lee's. We'll spread the flames of youth to the entire world. I said no, Guy. Kushina fingered the hilt of her katana ready to draw it. Do you want me to cut you up? Enough, Kushina. Sarutobi said but gulped as she turned her cold gaze on him. He knew that he had experience on his side, but that was it. She far surpassed him in raw skills and chakra, plus the village wouldn't survive a battle between them. But Kushina finally looked away, back to the orb with her arms crossed. Sarutobi let out a breath that he didn't know he was holding. Academy. Iruka's sweat dropped. Well done Naruto, you're strong. Naruto didn't answer and just walked back next to Sakura. The rest of the day went by pretty uneventful with Mizuki out. They went to Konoha's history, something that irked our young demon couple. Iruka lectured on about Hashirama making the peace deal with Kurami and all that boring stuff. Soon the first day ended and everyone went home except Kiba, who had detention. He swore. You'll pay for this, demon. You'll pay. 5 months later. Naruto and Sakura were the top students at the academy now, much to the instructor's ire. They all wanted Sasuke to be the best, so they attempted to change the grades. But failed because the Hokage stopped them and reminded them that the academy now focuses on true skill and not favoritism due to clan heritage. Now Naruto was currently finishing up his Rasengan training via Shadow Clone. He found a way to learn the Rasengan by himself without his father's scrolls. His mother had taught him Kage Bushin a month ago. His immense Yaki had strange and wondrous effects on his jutsu. Basically they were far more destructive than when any other people used them. Naruto mastered it within a week's time. He felt his clones dispel and their memories of learning the Rasengan became his. Now he might hate his so-called father, but the Rasengan is an A-rank jutsu easily up his alley and would be a very valuable technique to have under his belt. The young demon prince lifted one hand and a swirling black orb with some red in it formed and solidified. The jutsu had a foreboding howl to it instead the normal sound. Naruto rushed at a training dummy and thrust out his hand. Rasengan. The dummy shattered into splinters and the ground itself had a 30-foot crater in it. Naruto raised an eyebrow and looked down at his hand. Black lightning crackled and popped around it briefly. Naruto nodded satisfied. This is a very powerful jutsu, perfect for me. He then decided to see what Itachi's up to today. His mother and Hinata were off on another S-rank mission. Gina and Naomi are spending the day to catch up on old times, and Sakura-chan was sleeping inside after training so hard all morning. She's really pushing past her limits lately, he noted mentally. So Naruto walked around looking for Itachi, but when Naruto saw his brother, something was wrong with Itachi, for he was seemingly rushing to an area outside of the village. Naruto shadowed his older sibling, wondering what was up with him. But Itachi was moving quickly, even checking over his shoulder to see if anyone was following him. Naruto had a few close calls along the way, but managed to follow Itachi all the way to a clearing. Naruto's eyes turned black with 4 red tomo and 2 red rings, his dojutsu known as the Shinpangan. His eyes widened seeing his brother covered by a gain jutsu, but why would suddenly Itachi's body shimmered as he fell to his knees, the skin paled a little bit more and became more smooth, more like Kushina's, the face changed and became far more feminine. The hair grew longer, gaining some red highlights, the chest grew larger, the same size as their mother and sister, the figure became more feminine and curvy. Itachi had just become a very beautiful girl that would make Jiraiya forget about Tsunade. Naruto was looking at her in actual shock as he stuttered. What the hell is this? Itachi froze as she turned around hurriedly and looked like a deer caught in light when she saw Naruto. Itachi was injured on the back and legs and several places. Since he had such conditions, he did not dare go to the hospital, and he did not train in medic ninjutsu, so he was forced to use healing salve creams, so he would start stripping from the clothes as the gain jutsu release go to heal the injury with the healing salve creams. So Naruto saw his naked sister, whom he thought was a boy since as long as he remembered. Tsukiko froze in utter shock. She did not expect something like this to happen. She had ensured no one followed her, but she was followed by the one whom she cherished the most. She honestly had no idea what to do other than just sit and stare at him in utter shock and fear. Naruto, who was staring at the girl that was his brother, not to mention the fact she was naked, did not help though when he saw the look of terror in her eyes. His shock disappeared as he calmed himself. He slowly walked towards her, and she looked like she wanted to bolt out of here, but don't know how, so when he reached he put a hand on her shoulder as he spoke in uncharacteristic gentle tone. Can you tell me what is going on? Tsukiko looked down as she bit her bottom lip. Naruto gently put his hand under her chin and made her look up to him as he said. Please. She just looked at his eyes, the eyes she always liked to watch before. Suddenly it's as if the dam she placed on the pain she buried all these years ago vanished into thin air. She did not know how it happened. But she suddenly lost control of her emotions, and as she buried her face into his chest as she unleashed all her emotional pain out while spilling all the horrible acts that had been done to her by their own father. Naruto, since he was not human, did not even move an inch when she launched herself at him and managed to hug her head to his chest a little awkwardly. Since he is still far shorter than her, as he listened to her, his face grew into murderous rage more and more as his Shinpangan suddenly gained a 5th tomo and 3rd ring, and a pitch-black aura formed around him as he imagined how to mutilate Minato in the most ungodly and brutal of ways. It took an hour to cry and let it all out before she was silent and just stayed like this for some time. Naruto was stroking her hair as she seemed to snuggle into him when he did that 30 minutes later. Tsukiko removed herself and had a rather embarrassed expression on her face as she wiped out her tears. She said, "I am sorry Naru-kun, I did not want you to see me like this." Naruto just waved away before he said, "Are you alright now?" She just nodded and smiled slightly. Naruto somehow liked this more womanly side of her, it makes her cute. Then he gazed upon her godly figure and naked body as all is revealed to him. He had a small blush as he looked the other way. Tsukiko blinked at the act before she noticed herself. She cutely in her new feminine voice yelped in embarrassment as she tried to cover her private parts. Normally if any males gaze upon her naked body she would have used the Amaterasu and sent them to the next century and back until not even ashes remains, but when comes to her beloved younger brother Naruto, it was a whole different story. Naruto somehow found it very cute when she do this, though when he glanced upon the injuries all embarrassment went away as he urgently went to her and caressed the wounds on her back while saying, "Eneki, are you alright?" She could not reply as his touch made her freeze. His gentle and soft touch had made her feel in heaven. It took all her will to not moan in pleasure. She did manage to reply, "These are nothing." Naruto would not have that as he said, "No, I can smell poisons from it. You need to be healed from it now." He looked around before seeing the healing creams as he took it before saying, "Don't worry Tsukiko Nichan, I will heal you now." Tsukiko really wanted to object as she said, "No, it's alright, I will do I." Naruto shook his head. "Then how can you heal the ones in your back? There is no way you can reach them." Tsukiko was silent before she sighed and nodded. Naruto nodded in return and took the cream and started to spread it on the scratches that are all over her body. Tsukiko was shaking from utter pleasure. A few low moans escapes her lips, though Naruto did not give it a mind as he was focused in healing her. He rubbed her back, thighs, belly and a little below the breasts, arms and leg. Tsukiko was on the verge of orgasming right now. His gentle rubbing was utterly pleasurable. She was already wet as her womanhood was leaking a massive amount of her honey. Luckily Naruto did not notice, but he did smell a sweet smell that made his loins stir, but he ignored it as he finished. He stepped back as he looked at his work before nodding at approval. So did Tsukiko as she thanked him for her helping her. Naruto told her it's okay and they should return home now. As he started to walk away Tsukiko grabbed a hold of his hand stopping him. Naruto turned his head at her questioningly before she said, "Let's keep this between us." Naruto stared at her before saying, "You know that you will have to tell Aki-chan and Wani-chan about this eventually, right?" She nodded before saying, "I know that very well, but I just don't feel ready to tell them, so please give me some time." Naruto sighed before nodded as he said, "Very well then, but please try to tell them sometime soon. The longer you keep it the more hurt they might be, as they would think you are not trusting them with such a secret." She nodded and smiled slightly. Naruto then turned around as he walked away as he thought, now things are getting more interesting. Another thought came to him as he wondered how his life in the family would go now being the only true male in the house. A week later. Gina and Naomi were in their human forms alone in the Uzumaki compound. They were just reminiscing about the past together. Naruto and Sakura were at the academy. Kushina, Hinata and Itachi, for now Tsukiko is still wearing her male gain jutsu, were off on another S-ranked mission. It was just the two of them for the whole day. Naomi smiled. "Gina-chan, we've known each other a while, haven't we? Since we were young." Gina giggled. "Yes Naomi-chan, my father and your mother introduced us." Naomi also giggled as the memories flowed through her mind. The two demon beauties smiled as they remembered the first day they met. Flashback several centuries ago. The younger cute-looking Gina was riding atop her father's back in his true form as he raced across the lands as if flying. He could actually fly in dog form, but he loved running more. Taisho was a truly majestic sight in his dog form, the king of the canines. His long tail trailed behind him and the wind rushed through his soft dark silver fur. Not even a demon horse could follow this powerful Daikai speed. Gina wore a white kimono with various designs. She had her mokomoko wrapped around her waist. Taisho asked, "Gina-chan, you alright dear?" "I'm fine daddy, but where are we going?" Gina replied. "We are visiting an old friend of mine who wants to meet you. Gina-chan, she has a daughter your age." The Daikai explained. "Really daddy?" the Inu princess inquired. Her cute face lit up in a warm smile. "Maybe we'll become best friends." Taisho chuckled. "Yeah, you do need some more friends dear," he said teasingly. Gina blushed in embarrassment. "That's mean daddy." She turned her head away childishly pouting. The dog king laughed. "Daddy's just teasing you princess." "HMPH. I'm not talking to you until we get there daddy," Gina said in a childish tone. Taisho laughed again. Meanwhile. A younger Naomi with shoulder-length red hair looked up at her mother. "Mommy, who's this guest you invited over?" She wore a smaller more concealing kimono with fox designs. The tall beautiful woman with long crimson hair smiled down at her daughter, her hair fell down to her ankles, blonde highlights were visible with her hair, a few bangs framed her beautiful heart-shaped face, one fringe of her hair partially covered her right eye. Her ruby red slit eyes shining brightly. "He's an old friend of mine, Naomi-chan, you'll make a new friend with his own daughter." Naomi's mother wore a flowing crimson dress-like kimono that was low-cut at the top, showing off her very generous bust, makes Tsunade and Mei look flat. It had slits running up the sides accenting her long lovely legs. Her nails were coated with seductive red nail polish, her lips were a natural cherry red color. She was the queen of the kitsune and Kyubi no Yoko. 9 gorgeous crimson blonde tip tails swished just above her shapely ass and snaked around her form. 2 fox ears wiggled on top of her head. Naomi shyly smiled. "I hope so, mommy." She was a shy little vixen back then. The handsome silver-haired kitsune named Kurama wearing simple white clothes appeared before the 2 royal kitsune, yes, the very same one from Yu Yu Hakusho which I also don't own. He bowed to Naomi's mother in respect. "Kimiko-sama, your guest from the western lands has arrived." Kimiko smiled and dismissed him. "Thank you, Kurama-kun, I know he'll be here soon." She heard the howl that announced Taisho's arrival. The fox queen shook her head in amusement. "You haven't changed at all, Taisho-kun." As a blue orb appeared before her. Soon the blue orb turned into a regal-looking man. He had silver hair tied in a ponytail, amber eyes that were stern yet kind at the same time. He wore a regal-looking kimono that had armor on the top and shoulders, a thick fur pelt went down his back and split at the middle, creating twin tails behind him. Blue stripes decorated his face under his golden slit eyes. But his stern face softened seeing Kimiko. He smiled. "It's been a long time, hasn't it, Kimi-chan?" Kimiko giggled. "Yes, Taisho-kun, it has been a long time." She noticed the silver-haired girl looking shyly out from behind her father's furry cape. "Is that little cutie behind you your daughter?" "Yes. This is my little girl Gina-chan, it's alright dear, come out." Taisho prodded Gina. Gina timidly walked out from behind her father. Naomi studied her equally as shy. The 2 parents smiled and prodded their own daughters together until they were face to face. Gina smiled and lifted one hand. It's nice to meet you, I'm Gina Taisho." It's nice to meet you too Gina, I'm Naomi Yoko." Naomi took Gina's hand and shook it. Her ruby red eyes looking into Gina's golden. Kimiko and Taisho smiled at their daughter's introduction. Gina said. "Naomi-chan, I have a feeling that we'll become best friends." "Me too, Gina-chan." Naomi said smiling. Then flashback. "I never forgot that day, Naomi-chan." Gina said, placing one hand on Naomi's shoulder. The kitsune princess blushed lightly. "Gina-chan, do you remember when I met him?" Gina's eyes narrowed. "I do, Naomi-chan, that monster only wanted you for your looks." She then pulled Naomi into a hug as the vixen princess began to weep at the terrible memory of the man she thought she loved and loved her back. Naomi had fallen in love with a male kitsune once. He was in 8 tails, she had just grown her 9th tail. The man seemed nice enough, but then he revealed his true colors. He was only interested in Naomi for her looks and prestige as a member of the royal kitsune family. He believed if he could pretend to love Naomi, then once he mated with her after she became queen, he could usurp the throne from behind her back and rule as king of the kitsune with her as his slave concubine. Naomi's father was from another noble kitsune family and married her mother Kimiko, who has ruled the kitsune for the last 1,000 years, but Naomi's father died from a mysterious poison one day. Naomi was only 9 in human years when her father died. The man had tried to rape Naomi, something that was forbidden. Kitsune mate for love and companionship. Rape was forbidden for kitsune, just as it was for humans. Gina had saved Naomi and utterly obliterated the bastard. Naomi looked at Gina blushing. "I still remember after you saved me from him, Gina-chan." Her red face deepened as she felt herself beginning to feel hot. Her body trembled with remembered pleasure of her and Gina's activities. She licked her lips, suddenly feeling thirsty and not for water. Gina purred. "Shall we, Naomi-chan?" She went through hand seals. A soundproof barrier rose up and then Naomi's eye flashed and they were now protected by an illusion. The 2 demonesses stripped down until they were completely naked. Any man would die from a nosebleed at the erotic vision of beauties before him. Finally, after an hour's rest, the 2 demonesses came back inside reclothed, having relieved their tension for a while. Naomi and Gina were really looking too forward to when Naruto was old enough to join in. Just the thought of a threesome between them nearly sent them both into another orgasm. When Naruto and Sakura returned home from the academy, they noted a strange scent coming from Naomi and Gina, which made them both feel very strange, but they ignored it for now. Kushina, Itachi, Tsukiko, and Hinata returned home later and fell asleep on the floor. It's not the missions tiring them out, it's the fact that the council is constantly sending them on missions. Time skip 5 years later. Naruto and Sakura, now age 13, have basically taken the academy by storm. They were the top-ranked students, yet their true capabilities were a mystery. Haruka and Mizuki have tried everything to hold them back, but nothing worked. Especially remembering Kushina's threat on the very first day, but Mizuki was sure confident in whatever power Orochimaru has given him. Sakura is even more beautiful than on the first day. Now she wore a gorgeous kimono similar to those Gina and Naomi wear. It was purely crimson red with score blossom, and underneath she wore skin-tight black shorts. Sakura's hair was still short but in a beautiful style. Her sleeves were dediced revealing her slim shoulders, and the top was slightly open showing her generous cleavage. Sakura was the most developed girl in the academy, even more so than the Ice Queen Hinata Hyuga. The silver-haired Jonin looked down at them with contempt with his one visible eye. He was standing atop a building behind them. He had an orange book closed in one hand. This was Kakashi Hatake, now again a Jonin and future Jonin sensei, after he retired from the Anbu forces. Kakashi hated Naruto and Sakura by extension with a deep vengeance. He still foolishly believed Naruto was the Kyuubi incarnate. He would kill Naruto and his family no matter what he had to do, too bad he never would accomplish the deed. Kakashi sneered beneath his mask. Enjoy life while you can, demon scum, soon it will be extinguished. Sensei will be avenged. He vanished via leaf shunshin. Soon our young demon couple arrived at the academy. Kushina had called Gina and Naomi aside to ask them for help about something. The other kids sneered at them, but they just go to their seats without bothering to look at any of them. Sasuke was jealous. How? I am an Uchiha elite. I deserve that power and I deserve that girl. He clenched his fists. Sasuke has only fallen deeper into his mental insanity over the years, yet his fan club has grown. The girls who lusted after this boy must be blind or something. A certain Hyuga was fuming inwardly. She had been trying different ways to win Naruto's heart for these past 5 years, and yet nothing has worked. It's like that pink-haired girl is the only one in the academy he actually cares about. But Hinata wouldn't give up so easily. She was like Sasuke in that regard. Hinata glared a Hyuga death glare at the back of Sakura's head. Naruto-kun will be mine, you bitch. Hiba, now wearing a grey hoodie, glared. It's not fair, how does that freak get all the pretty girls? Akamaru nestled into his partner's hood, taking a nice nap. Soon Haruka and Mizuki arrived. Haruka with his usual friendly smile and Mizuki with his obviously fake smile. Good day, students. It's nearly time for the Genin exams. Today we will all review the transformation technique, Haruka said. At this, everyone groaned except Naruto, Sakura, Hinata, and Sasuke. Soon Haruka began calling off people. Some people like Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto along with the other clan heirs managed to do a perfectly good henge of him. The weak civilian-born students could barely manage to gather the chakra needed, much less perform the hand seals. The day at the academy went by pretty quickly. Naruto and Sakura soon were their way back home. When Naruto sensed weak chakra signatures surrounding them, he quickly held one arm out. Soon several blurs were seen, and a small group of villagers along with 4 genin appeared before them. The genin were older ones who failed the previous Chunin exams. They were hoping to gain recognition from killing Naruto and Sakura. Sakura looked bored at the foolish humans. How annoying, don't humans know when they're beaten? Hey, well, look who we came across. A villager said with a sneer, tapping a crowbar in his arms. Yeah, the demon and his slut. One of the genin said, drawing a kunai. Let's avenge our loved ones and Yondaime-sama. Naruto sighed. I guess I could use some amusement. Come then, show me your resolve. He activated his Shinpangan, which now had 6 tomo and 3 rings. The 4 genin launched themselves at Naruto at the same time. Die, demon. Naruto raised his arms outward. HMPH, how foolish. Almighty push. Instantly a massive force blew them all away from the young demonic heir. Naruto was briefly covered in a clear force field. They all crashed into the buildings, hurt really bad if not dead, blood spilling from their open mouths. The civilians were terrified. Did you see that? Yeah, he really is a demon. If he can repel attacks we'll never be rid of him. We're doomed. Sakura squealed and latched onto Naruto's arm. That was amazing, Naru-kun. Those foolish humans didn't have a prayer. Thank you, Sakura-chan, now let's go home, Ka-chan and the others are waiting. Naruto and Sakura left for home, a mob of frightened civilians behind. Mizuki was watching with hatred in his eyes. Enjoy your power for now, demon, soon Orochimaru-sama will give me power that will surpass yours. He turned and vanished. A certain person was watching him with spinning Sharingan eyes. It was Tsukiko Uzumaki Uchiha. When she revealed her secret to her mother and sister 2 years ago, after spending almost 4 hours getting a comforting deed hug from them both, her mother Kushina disappeared and Tsukiko followed her mother to the forest of death. Tsukiko heard a huge explosion and half the forest was destroyed with black flames swallowing more of it. Her mother was standing amidst the destroyed trees with her EMS spinning wildly. Kushina used Amaterasu to burn down nearly half of the forest of death as she cursed Minato to the lowest pits of hell. Tsukiko glared at Mizuki. You will not get the chance to harm Naruto Ka-chan, Wani-chan, Naomi-sama, Gina-sama, and I will stop you. She then split into multiple ravens which flew off her home to inform her mother and older sister. Next day academy. The following day, Iruka had everyone review the clone technique. Everyone who was called up passed. He then called Naruto up. Iruka was confident. I'm sure thanks to the demon fox, he can't perform the clone technique. I'll fail him and never have to worry about seeing him again. Mizuki grinned evilly. Once he fails, I'll convince the demon to steal the scroll and then whip up the other shinobi into a frenzy for his blood. Not even that mother of his can fight off all of the other shinobi by herself. Too bad that Naruto said the one word that derailed all their plans. Shadow clone technique. Instantly 20 flesh and blood clones of him appeared in poofs of smoke, all of them in same calm compass stance. Naruto can actually make a lot more than just 20 clones, but no use sending these fools into a coma just yet. Iruka and Mizuki's jaws dropped in pure shock. He knew the shadow clone all this time, why then did he refuse to graduate early? Naruto dispelled his clones with a mental command. Well done Naruto, the shadow clone is an advanced clone jutsu you pass with flying colors. A shaking Iruka said, handing Naruto a headband. The boy silently took it and went out with Sakura. Iruka shivered, all the times Naruto thought he was holding back and still beat all other students who challenged him. The demon boy was far stronger than they feared. Mizuki clenched his fists. Damn it. He knew a B-rank jutsu. There must be a way. He then saw Sasuke brooding. Mizuki grinned. Excellent. Orochimaru-sama pines for the Sharingan. Maybe he will reward me greatly if I convince Sasuke-sama to join him. Mizuki walked over to the brooding boy. Hey Sasuke. The Uchiha Avenger looked to him coldly. What do you want? I just wanted to talk with the number 1 student. Mizuki said kindly. Sasuke scoffed. TCH. Uzumaki's the top student, not me. Yes Sasuke, but there's a way to beat him. Mizuki said grinning. What? Sasuke turned to him with icy cold eyes. You'd better tell me how I can beat Uzumaki. Mizuki's grin turned wicked. There's a scroll in the Hokage's tower that can help you beat that brat. Later that night. Sasuke rushed through the forest with a huge scroll on his back. TCH. It was easy, the old fool is not worthy of the Hokage title. He tree jumped towards the meeting place with Mizuki sensei. Sasuke didn't know that Naruto was right behind him, having seen what he's done. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Uchiha, you're making a big mistake, one that will cost you. Naomi was with him on his shoulder, easily clinging to it. Naruto spoke. Naomi-chan, you know what to do. Naomi smirked fierily. Of course Naruto, that fool Iruka will suffer. The two of them followed Sasuke all the way to a clearing. Naruto landed in front of Sasuke. He had his arms crossed. Stop right there Uchiha. Sasuke sneered, halting in his tracks. TCH. I should have known you'd track me Uzumaki. Your senses are like an Inuzuka's. Never compare me to those pathetic Inuzuka again. Naruto spat venomously. Being the prince of demons and a powerful wolf demon, comparing Naruto to an Inuzuka was one of the worst insults anyone could ever use on him. Sasuke. What have you done? Yelled Iruka as he jumped into the clearing. TCH. Mizuki told me if I got this scroll I could beat Uzumaki. Sasuke said coldly. Well done Sasuke-kun. Now give me the scroll and you will receive power beyond your wildest dreams. Said Mizuki as he appeared in his full Chunin gear with a massive shuriken on his back. Mizuki. Did you? Iruka was silenced as Mizuki threw a shuriken at him. He had to duck to avoid getting hit. Ha. Ha. You always were a soft fool Iruka. Mizuki said cruelly. Always crying like a baby about your parents' deaths, thinking you're the only one who suffered. You disgust me, you and the rest of this foolish village. Iruka gasped. Mizuki, those are words of treason. Mizuki laughed manically. Ha. I've already betrayed the village, remember that guy who vanished on one of our missions? Mizuki, you don't mean. I'm the one who killed him. Mizuki laughed harder. You monster. You're worse than Uzumaki. Iruka cried out. Now that was just insulting to our young demon prince. Sasuke now looked confused. My father always said Naruto's connected to the QB, but never mentioned what that connection was. Mizuki grinned. Sasuke-kun, do you want to know why? Iruka screamed. No Mizuki, it's forbidden. Naruto looked impassive. I don't know why it's forbidden still, considering it's old news. Both of the Chunin looked at him in confusion. Mizuki scoffed. What do you mean QB brat? I mean I no longer hold the QB within me, I did several years ago, but after a mob which you two were a part of nearly killed me, I unleashed her. Naruto said calmly. Iruka and Mizuki looked confused. Her? They were so stupid they never noticed Naomi in her kid form on Naruto's shoulder this whole time. Naruto spoke. Naomi-chan, I'm going to have some fun with them. Naomi leapt down and turned into her human form. Okay Naruto-kun, I guess I'll play with a little Uchiha weakling then. Sasuke glared at the woman. How dare you call me an Uchiha elite weak bitch. He rushed her foolishly head on with 2 kunai. Mizuki spoke. Iruka helped me kill him and I promise you that my master can bring your parents back. He grinned as Iruka looked hesitant, especially remembering Kushina's threat. But he was bitter and really wanted his parents back. Iruka withdrew a Fuma shuriken of his own. Alright Mizuki, I'll help you and end his stain on our fair village. Excellent choice Iruka. Mizuki said but inwardly smirked. Fool, as if I'd let you take credit for my kill. As soon as we kill the demon you're next. You can have a happy reunion with your pathetic parents in the afterlife. The 2 Chunin charged Naruto, who activated his Shinpangan 6 red Tomo and 3 crimson rings spun on a black background. Naruto had a hazy black aura around him. Show me the power of a Chunin. Shadowy tendrils burst out of the ground in front of him and reshaped into huge claws of black energy. The sinister claws shot towards the Chunin, who couldn't see them thanks to the blackness of the night. Forest near the clearing. Kushina and Tsukiko were racing towards the clearing, worried greatly about their precious Naruto. Tsukiko had explained about Mizuki's plan to the rest of them. Kushina was utterly livid. I knew I should kill those 2 weaklings years ago, they will not lay a finger on my Naruto-kun. I'll fix my mistake and kill them right now. She and her second-born daughter easily outpaced the other shinobi heading for the clearing. Both Uzumaki women had this thought. Hold on Naruto-kun, we're coming. Sakura was following them. I want to see Naruto-kun crush those fools. As a vampire she lived for battle and enjoyed seeing Naruto in combat. Gina was in her human form following as well. Like I would miss a chance to view Naruto-kun in action. Naruto vs Iruka and Mizuki. Naruto had immobilized both Chunin thanks to his shadowy claws. The young demon heir looked bored. Please tell me this isn't all you 2 are capable of. Iruka finally looked down and gasped in terror, seeing a massive claw of black energy holding him. He struggled. Let me go demon. Let go. Naruto narrowed his eyes. As you wish. He slammed Iruka into the ground with his claw, rendering him dazed for a while. Mizuki smirked. This won't hold me for long demon. He then struggled harder than Iruka before he was crushed by the claw, only to poof into a log with exploding tags on it. He used the body replacement technique and added exploding tags. Clever. Naruto easily defended himself by forming his shadowy barrier, it protected him from the explosion easily. Naruto dismissed his barrier and faced Mizuki, who was in front of him. I'm not an amateur unlike that weak fool Iruka. Mizuki pulled something out of his pocket. A vial with a strange red liquid given to him by Orochimaru. Naruto raised an eyebrow, sensing a dark aura within the vial. Of course far weaker than his own aura. Comparing that aura to his own was like comparing a tiny drop of water to the entire ocean, but enough to mutate the Chunin. You think drinking that liquid will help you against me? Naruto inquired. Of course it will demon. Mizuki opened the vial and drank the liquid. Soon he groaned as he bulked up, becoming more muscular. His eyes turned slitted and green tiger-like marks appeared on his face and his canine teeth slightly sharpened. Iruka gasped. Mizuki. What's happened to you? Naruto's eyes narrowed. The liquid mutated him, does he really think he can defeat me? Mizuki grinned sadistically, baring his fang-like canines. Now demon fox, you will die. He charged Naruto much faster now and beat his fist back, aiming a powerful punch at him directly. An explosion followed his movement. Iruka watched. Mizuki, you would really go so far just to kill him? Naomi vs Sasuke, completely one-sided. Sasuke was covered in burns. Ugh. What are you? This woman was really strong, he didn't even have half a chance against her, she utterly beat his ass around the area. Naomi walked slowly towards him, her 9 tails snaking around her form. You should know boy, after all I'm responsible for dozens of deaths 13 years ago. You mean you're the QP? The now scared Avenger shouted. You're smarter than I thought Uchiha, yes I am the QP no Yoko. Naomi phased out of Sasuke's sight and appeared in front of him. Her eyes began to glow red. Sasuke felt her power take control of his mind. Now sleep Uchiha, and when you awaken this will have only been a dream. Naomi ordered. Instantly Sasuke fell unconscious. Naomi looked down at the unconscious Uchiha. Well that takes care of him. I think I'll see how Naruto-kun is doing. She turned her attention to Naruto's battle. Mizuki gasped as a clawed hand blocked his blow with ease. What the? The clawed hand wrapped around his wrist, halting his movement just before it hit. Naruto had a hazy dark aura around him, his head was bowed with his hair covering his eyes slightly. He looked up to reveal glowing crimson slit eyes, he had black outlines around his eyes and mouth similar to those of a wolf. His hair grew in length, looking more spiked and feral. His hands ending in wicked-looking claws. Naruto smirked, baring wickedly sharp fangs. Heh, impressive Mizuki, I see that strength of yours would be enough to easily kill a normal chunin or jonin. He had a smile on that would make Orochimaru wet himself with fear. Is this the limit to your strength, Mizuki? If so, I'm disappointed. I was hoping for a true challenge. The demon boy said in a bored tone. Mizuki jumped away. TCH. This is nothing, demon brat. Mizuki began to change more as he bulked up even bigger, his eyes turned feline-like. His skin turned the color of tiger fur, actual fur grew out of him, and tiger ears grew from his head, his nails grew into sharp claws, and a tiger tail soon burst from his pants, swishing back and forth. Mizuki threw back his head and roared like a real tiger. I sense your power has grown 10 times more, perhaps this will be fun. Naruto said with bloodlust dripping in his tone. Naomi shivered from the bloodlust in his tone. It turned her on so much. Her nipples were hardening and slightly leaking milk, her clit was so wrecked it was poking out of its hood, and her juices started trickling down her legs. If anyone were to look, they would see the wet spots on her form-fitting revealing kimono. She was releasing a ton of ferments. But thanks to his Juubi heritage, Naruto easily resisted and ignored the urge. Mizuki leapt back faster now and then looked for an opening. He then rushed at Naruto from behind. But the demon boy eyed him over his shoulder and roared, sending out a powerful shockwave. He blew Mizuki away from him. Mizuki went sailing and crashed through several trees, badly hurt by that one attack. His body felt as if the QB had crushed him multiple times. He choked, coughing up blood. Ack. With just a roar, how can he do this much damage? The hurt tiger man struggled to get up. Ugh. I can't give up so easily. He then was grabbed by a claw of shadows. Naruto slammed Mizuki through the area, destroying several trees. Iruka, who now had recovered, cried out. Mizuki. He charged Naruto with a kunai. Damn you, demon. Only for Naomi to appear in front of him with a red flash. Sorry, I can't let you disturb Narukun's playtime. She smirked before raising her hand at Iruka. Get out of my way, woman. I must kill that boy because he's not the QB, you fool. I'm afraid that the demon fox you're looking for. Naomi's ruby red eye glowed an ominous red and the pupil turned slitted. Is right here. Iruka was completely shocked. Why, you're the QB then all this time? Naomi giggled. It really doesn't matter now whether or not you all discover I'm free. Narukun couldn't care less about this village, even if he tried. A dark ghostly blue flame flickered into existence in her hand. Goodbye, Iruka Yamino. She shot a blast of ghostly blue flames which incinerated the poor Chunin on contact. Mizuki struggled to break free of Naruto's shadow or a claw. Naruto then dropped him hard on the ground. Mizuki groaned. Arg, that hurt. The tiger Oni-like man stood up, but just barely. Grr, damn you, demon. I will not be stopped. I will kill you and become a hero. I, Mizuki Toji, swear to kill you and be loved by all. Oh, spare me your whining about heroics, please. It's grating on my ears. Naruto said in an almost annoyed tone. I'm getting tired of you all spouting off about heroes, don't you know? Heroes don't exist, you simply make them up to hide your own stupidity and cowardice. Mizuki snarled. How dare you, demon. You're dead. Purple chakra swirled around Mizuki, increasing his power and speed tenfold. Naruto smirked slightly. Now you're making this more interesting, Mizuki. He phased out of sight again. But the girls. Kushina and the other girls watched Naruto's fight with Mizuki. Kushina clenched her fists, glaring at the tiger-like man. Her eyes flickering between their regular blue color and the red of her Sharingan. Her chakra began to swirl around her. Hinata placed one hand on her mother's shoulder. Kachan, calm down, Atato-kun can handle himself. Kushina was silent watching the battle. I know, Hinata-chan, but still Narukun's my precious son. It's so hard for me not to intervene and kill that bastard Mizuki myself. It was taking a sheer force of will for Kushina to just stand there and do nothing while her only son fought against a traitorous Chunin, even if she knew her baby could easily handle a Chunin. Back with Naruto. Mizuki charged, putting on a burst of speed and slammed his fist straight into Naruto's face. The force behind it actually caused Naruto's head to turn to the side. Mizuki smirked. Heh, how did you like that, demon? Not a bad punch if I do say so myself. But Naruto soon turned his gaze back to Mizuki, looking rather bored. Not even a scratch on his visage. Is that all you got? He's not even phased. What kind of monster? Mizuki's thoughts were halted as pain exploded from his hand, as if it was being crushed. Naruto gripped Mizuki's hand very painfully and tightly, pulling it away from his person. I'm disappointed, Mizuki. I really expected better from a Chunin. Mizuki struggled. Ow, let go of me, demon. As you wish. Naruto replied and released him. Die, demon. Mizuki roared. No, Mizuki, you die. Naruto beeped one fist back and punched him. Motionless and cloud bomb. A powerful shockwave tore open Mizuki's back without even moving him, blood spewing out of the hole like a faucet on full. Mizuki's face forever frozen in terror. He was dead. The body fell to the ground. Naruto then turned to Naomi, who handed him the scroll using her tails. Naruto put the scroll on his back to return it to the Hokage tower. Several Anbu arrived. They all sneered behind their masks, but knew they could do nothing, especially since Aratobi had informed them Mizuki had played on Sasuke's desire for power. The lead Anbu walked up to Naruto and held out his hand. "Naruto Uzumaki, you have done Konoha a great service by returning the sealing scroll." Naruto narrowed his eyes but didn't say anything. He just handed them the scroll. Naruto turned and walked off. The Anbu watched him leave. Kushina and the others greeted Naruto and Naomi, and soon the whole group vanished via pure speed heading back home. One Anbu in particular with a cat mask and long purple hair watched the boy. She was amazed. Mistress Kushina truly has taught her son much. "Come on, let's get this scroll back to Hokage-sama." The Anbu all vanished via body flicker. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Bye bye.